The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning. Big tourism numbers, 11.2 million visitors in 2024. The tourism minister and Grand Lukai and what he has to say now. And another inmate stabbed. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning.
It's a new day. Wake up. It's a new day. It's the start of a new way. Don't you know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. It's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Thursday, February 6th, 2025. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Laverne Gardner will be joining us. Also this morning, in our business hour, we're going to be talking with the CARICOM Regional Office of the High Commission for Human Rights. We'll be talking about human rights in the CARICOM region and beyond. And more this morning. That's all ahead. But first, it's time for the overnight, the leader was sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services confirming that another inmate has been stabbed. He was taken to the hospital and was listed in stable condition. This happened yesterday. According to the Minister of National Security, Wayne Monroe, two men were fighting with a slop bucket. One of the men ended up with puncture wounds to his head. This is the second stabbing at the prison in less than a week. Officials say Brody Fritz was stabbed to death by another inmate on Saturday. Well, Minister Wayne Monroe says that despite the Trump administration's decision to suspend its funding of a United Nations security mission in Haiti, the Bahamas remains committed to the effort. Monroe saying, quote, if Haiti degenerates, you can have an outflow of millions of Haitians coming in this direction. That creates an existential threat to a country of 400,000 people. We deem it necessary to participate in making sure that Haiti does not degenerate to the point that its 11 million population could consider streaming out and coming in our direction. The U.S., with its $15 million commitment, was one of the biggest financial contributors to the mission, which is being led by Kenyan police, and is also has a participation of more than 50 Bahamian Marines. Haiti's recent years have been marked by social instability, with gangs now controlling large swaths of the capital of Port-au-Prince. Worsening violence forced the resignation of Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry last year, following a trip to Kenya to negotiate the details of the security mission. Efforts are being made to reestablish democratic rule by way of a transitional council, but that council has been plagued by infighting and corruption allegations. The Bahamas welcomed a record-breaking 11.2 million visitors last year, surpassing the 2023 total of 16.2% That's according to Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper. The tourism number last year beat pre-COVID figures from 2019 by 55%. However, the 2024 figure fell short of the 12 million visitor arrivals that Cooper had said was a possibility. He touted the latest numbers, saying the unprecedented growth in the industry should be celebrated, saying that this was the best year ever, 2023's record. Foreign air arrivals across all destinations in 2024 exceeded 1.72 million, equaling the 1.72 million arrivals recorded in 2023 and surpassing the 1.67 million foreign air arrivals recorded in 2019 by 3.3%. Cooper said December was the best month ever for arrivals, with 1.15 million visitors, 14% ahead of December 2023. A man accused of a fatal stabbing telling a policeman that he didn't mean to kill his victim. A jury hearing this in the Supreme Court yesterday, Strachan Russell made the admission when he was arrested on suspicion of the murder of Camario Miller at Fritz Lane on March 6, 2022. Miller died as a result of a stabbing wound to the neck. Russell, who's in custody, has denied a charge of manslaughter at his trial before Justice Janine Weish Gomez. The arresting officer, Reserve Superintendent Stafford Smith, was read into evidence. According to Smith, on March 14, 2022, Russell came to the Kwaku Street Police Station. When Smith told him he was suspected of causing Miller's death, he replied that he didn't mean to kill him, quote, because he was cool, but he was hassling me for money. Crime scene photos showed a broken Galick bottle, bloody clothing, and blood splatter. You can read more about it in today's Nassau Guardian. And the Water and Sewage Corporation issued nominated contracts while Adrian Gibson served as its executive chairman. The corporation's current general manager, Robert Deal, testified during cross-examination that it were chosen to complete certain jobs. Deal was continuing his testimony at the bribery and money laundering trial of Gibson and four others. Prosecutors contend that Gibson benefited from multiple contracts that were awarded during his tenure and laundered the proceeds through the acquisition of real estate and vehicles. Overseas, Israel saying today it has begun preparations for the departure of large numbers of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, in line with U.S. President Donald Trump's plan for the territory. Officials, meanwhile, said Egypt has launched a diplomatic blitz behind the scenes to try and head off the plan. The Trump administration has already dialed back aspects of the proposal after it was widely rejected internationally, saying the relocation of Palestinians would be temporary. U.S. officials have provided few details about how or when the plan would be carried out. The Palestinians have vehemently rejected Trump's proposal, fearing Israel will never allow the refugees to return and that it would destabilize the region. That such a plan could undermine its peace treaty with Israel, a cornerstone of stability and American influence in the Middle East for decades. Saudi Arabia, another U.S. ally, has also rejected any mass transfer of Palestinians and says it will not normalize relations with Israel, a key goal of the Trump administration, without the creation of a Palestinian state that includes Gaza. Trump and Israeli officials have depicted the proposal of relocation from war-ravaged Gaza as voluntary, but the Palestinians have universally expressed their determination to remain in their homeland. Trump and Israeli officials have not said how they would respond if Palestinians refuse to leave, but Human Rights Watch and other groups say the plan, if implemented, would amount to ethnic cleansing, the forcible relocation of the civilian population of an ethnic group from a geographic area. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, says that he has ordered the military to make preparations to facilitate the emigration of large numbers of Palestinians from Gaza through land crossing, as well as special arrangements for by sea and air. And a line of Mexican National Guard and Army trucks rumbled along the border separating Ciudad Juarez and El Paso, Texas, among the first of 10,000 troops Mexico has sent to its northern frontier following tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump. Masked and armed National Guard members picked through brush running along the border barrier of the outskirts of Juarez, pulling out makeshift ladders and ropes tucked away in the trenches and pulling them onto trucks. Patrols were also seen in other parts of the border near Tijuana. It comes after a turbulent week along the border after Trump announced he would delay imposing crippling tariffs on Mexico for at least a month. In exchange, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum promised that she would send guard to reinforce the border and crack down on fentanyl smuggling. And Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo saying that his country will accept migrants from other countries who are being deported from the United States, the second deportation deal that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has reached during a Central America trip that has been focused mainly on immigration. Under the agreement announced by Arevalo, the deportees would be returned to their home countries at U.S. expense. He said at a news conference with Rubio that, quote, "We've agreed to increase by 40% the number of flights of deportees, both of our nationality as well as deportees from other nationalities. Previously, under the Biden administration, Guatemala has been accepting on average 7 to 8 flights of its citizens from the U.S. per week. Under President Trump, it's also been one of the countries that have had migrants returned on U.S. military planes. El Salvador announced a similar but broader agreement on Monday, their president saying his country would accept U.S. deportees of any nationality, including American citizens and legal residents who are imprisoned for violent crimes. And Argentina says it will withdraw from the World Health Organization, echoing Donald Trump. Argentina's president has ordered the country's withdrawal from the WHO due to, quote, profound differences with the UN agency. President Javier Milei's decision echoes that of Trump's, who began the process of pulling the U.S. out of WHO with an executive order on his first day back in office, January 21st. The loss of another member country will further fracture cooperation in global health, though Argentina was expected to provide only about $8 million to the WHO, just estimated $6.9 billion budget. Argentina's decision is based on, quote, profound differences in health management, especially the COVID pandemic, according to a spokesperson. Argentina will not allow an international organization to intervene in its sovereignty, according to the statement. Time for sports, brought to you by Kalik. The St. John's College Giants making history, winning 3 basketball titles with the BAISS last year. This year, they're going for the quadfecta, as all 4 of their teams are in the finals. The Giants' junior girls and boys and their senior boys all won their sudden death playoff games at Kendall Isaac's gym Wednesday, joining their senior girls who won on Tuesday. And for the first time in school history, they have placed 4 teams in the BAISS basketball championships. The sudden death playoffs tipped off with a junior girls matchup between the Giants and the Queens College Comets. The Giants showcasing dominance with a commanding 39-6 victory. In the junior boys division, the Giants turned back the St. Augustine's College Big Red Machine, winning 36-28. The senior girls came, that game featured the Kingsway Academy Saints and the Prince William Falcons, and the Saints won in a blowout 53-9. The Giants senior boys made sure they had 4 teams as they blasted the Charles W. Saunders Cougars 65-40. Read all about it in today's Guardian Sports section. From the NBA, Jimmy Butler got what he wanted. He's being traded out of Miami and got a new contract in the process. The Heat and the Golden State Warriors have agreed on a deal that sends Butler to the Bay Area, according to a person with knowledge of the talks. Butler helped carry the Heat to the NBA Finals twice, long before a hostile breakup that saw him suspended 3 times by the team in January. Golden State is making it happen by moving Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, Lindy Waters, and a first-round draft compensation in the deal. Headed to Miami, it's unclear if Anderson will be staying with the Heat. Schroeder is getting moved to Utah, where the Warriors coincidentally were on Wednesday night playing. And Josh Richardson is heading from Miami to Detroit, along with Waters. Also on the move, P.J. Tucker, who was last traded to Utah, is now set to return to Miami, where he played in 21-22. The Heat will get a protected first-rounder from Golden State. For now, that's a pick in this year's draft that could change based on final terms. And ESPN reported that Butler has already agreed on a 2-year extension with the Warriors, one that could be worth around $113 million. Golden State and Miami expected to play each other on March 25th. That'll be the first time Butler could play again in South Florida. And more NBA news. The Los Angeles Lakers are acquiring center Mark Williams from the Charlotte Hornets in a trade for rookie Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, and a draft consideration. That's according to a person with knowledge of the deal speaking to the Associated Press. The Hornets are also getting the Lakers' first-round pick in 2031 and a first-round pick swap in 2030 in exchange for Williams, one of the NBA's most intriguing young centers. Williams is another major addition in the Lakers' thorough roster overhaul, which has been highlighted by the acquisition of Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks last Saturday in a blockbuster trade for Anthony Davis. And more Trump news. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order Wednesday intending to ban transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports. The order, keeping men out of women's sports, gives federal agencies wide latitude to ensure entities that receive federal funding abide by the Title IX, in alignment with the Trump administration's view, which interprets sex as the gender someone was assigned at birth. Trump saying at a signing ceremony that included lawmakers and female athletes who came out in support of the ban, quote, "With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over." White House Press Secretary Kathleen Leavitt saying the order, quote, "upholds the promise of Title IX and will require immediate action, including enforcement actions against schools and athletic associations that deny women single-sex sports and single-sex locker rooms." The timing of the order coincided with the National Girls and Women in Sports Day. It's the latest in a string of executive actions from the Republican president aimed at transgender. At sports, brought to you by Kalik. Kalik Victory Fest. Kalik, the Beer of the Bahamas, invites you to Victory Fest 2025, Saturday, March 1st at Smuggler's Square for an epic celebration of the 2024 Boxing Day and 2025 New Year's Day Junkanoo winners, the Saxon Superstars. The Junkanoo season may be over, but the celebration is just getting started. Enjoy music by Playhouse DJs Little Giant and DJ Tank, and performing live, fans Sean and D-Mac. Celebrate the 4 straight Junkanoo wins of the Saxon Superstars with Kalik. It's time for your first look at weather for today. We've got that ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate weather across the country, bringing mostly dry and stable conditions over the central and southeastern islands. As a result of that, beachgoers and swimmers should exercise caution in the central and southeastern islands and should remain alert in the northwest islands along Atlantic exposures. As we've been telling you, there's a slight risk of mist and patchy fog in the mornings over these few days, especially in the northern and northwest Bahamas before sunrise. Your forecast for today: We're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, turning fair tonight. Breezy, a bit breezy in the southeast Bahamas. Temperatures today, we're looking at highs around 84 Fahrenheit, 29 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 69, 68 Fahrenheit, 19, 20 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook coming up in just a bit.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
You are listening to Morning Blend. When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on your home for fresh news and smart talk all day. Guardian Radio 96.9.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you.
Planning for retirement can be overwhelming, but with CFAL, it doesn't have to be. We offer tailor-made individual, group, and pension solutions that take the guesswork out of retirement planning. Whether it's for you or your company, don't leave your future to chance and let the trusted hands of CFAL's experts guide you toward peace of mind and financial stability. Low upfront costs and affordable monthly payments make it easy for you to build wealth so you can live well. Visit us at cfal.com to start on your path toward financial freedom. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your number one Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Wake up, it's a new day.
Fall in love with your water service this February with the Water and Sewage Corporation Sweet Savings Campaign. Pay your bill in full on or before the due date. Complete the entry form and we'll sweeten the deal with a 5% discount on your next bill. That's right, save some sweet cash just by keeping your account current. It's simple, it's easy, and it's our way of saying thank you for being a valued customer. Don't miss out. Offer runs from February 1st to the 28th. Show your water service some love and enjoy the savings that come with it. Visit our website at wsc.com.bs today to learn more. Pay in full, save more. It's that simple with Sweet Savings. The Water and Sewage Corporation, refreshing your life with sweet savings this Valentine's Day.
Looking to elevate your gadget game or a tech trouble? Escape to a world of innovation at Custom Computers, your go-to store for the latest cutting-edge tech. Whether you need to upgrade your life with the best from Apple and Windows or your device needs a little TLC, the Custom Computers Know-How Store is the destination for unbeatable expertise and quality repairs. With 2 convenient locations, there's a Custom Computers near you on Patton Street in Palmdale and Caves Village, or call 396-1100.
Do you have uncontrollable debt? Are you ready to make that move to Fidelity for a stress-free future? These loans have a built-in savings plan that pays you unbeatable interest. Ask about our debt consolidation loans today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Wake up, it's a new day. It's a new day. It's the start of a new way. Don't you know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Laverne Gardner in Grand Bahama. Laverne, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Great to talk to you again.
Great.
Appreciated
Always
you.
great to talk to you.
Appreciated you calling in Monday.
Dwight, honestly, I made up my mind. I knew, of course, that you're going to cover this on Monday, and I'd already said, you know what?
This was the PLP's
I'm not-
conclave and rally in Grand Bahama we're talking about, for those who missed it.
I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to listen to the callers. But it was you playing what was said for me. I was like, I cannot. I can't not say anything.
Oh my! Well, you might get a chance to say something again, as the tourism minister made some more comments about Grand Lucayan and what's happening in Grand Bahama. So we'll get to that a little bit later, and you can let go and let it out. Yeah. Okay. That's
No, Dwight. I can't let go.
No.
I can't.
We'll prod you,
It
so
would
we'll
not be
see.
good.
Well, you got to tell the truth. Tell the truth. The truth will set everyone free. But that's coming up. Also, this morning we are going to be talking with the UN Office of the High Commission for Human Rights, and the regional representative is going to be joining us on that. We're going to be talking about human rights issues and so much to talk about because so much is happening in the world, but also in a Bahamian context as well. We're going to talk about some issues that are of concern to UN and to all of us. So we'll get into that. It's going to be interesting. But right now, let's talk about what else is in the news. And in the news, I'm glad for this because I did French in school. I didn't do Spanish, and I always wonder about some of these Spanish pronunciations. So so we got a wonderful text from a Spanish teacher saying that is pronounced ciudad, not the kind of Frenchy way I said it. So yeah, I think is that city, right? That's what that means, ciudad. Yeah, Juarez, Ciudad. Laverne, you didn't do Spanish?
Only for one semester.
So
and
you
then
don't
I
remember
asked
what
if
city
I could,
is?
Go French. No, I only did it for one term, and then I asked if I could just take French.
Oh boy,
So-
well, that was not the normal thing to do. People, oh, that's not what that is. What is? Yeah, Ciudad is city. We got a lot of people who went the other direction. Started with French and like I can't do this, and went to Spanish. But oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I went the opposite way.
Oh, good. Well, good for you. But yes.
Really?
so-
Because I don't really remember much of that.
Oh dear. Well, so we're not going to talk about much about what Trump is doing today, but I hope you were listening to the
We're
world
not?
news. No, I got too worked
Shocker.
up yesterday for it, but I hope you see what's happening. Other countries, as we expected, Once one person starts doing certain things, others say, yeah, we don't want to do it either. And then that's how you end up with a very isolationist world. And we've had two major incidents that that came as a result of, especially the U.S. being an isolationist nation. That's not very good for the world, whether they want to be the policeman of the world or not. When they haven't been, we've ended up with 2 world wars. But anyway, okay, so we got another text about this as well. Another prison inmate stabbed. Someone sent a text saying slop bucket. Like, I'm shocked that they were surprised that they are still using slop buckets at the prison. We heard that the fatal stabbing earlier, or that was late last week, that happened while the prisoners were emptying their night waste, I think was how they put it. And there was a fight.
Don't forget the routine. Their nightly
normal routine. Normal routine of
Yeah.
emptying their night waste. Ah, boy. Yes. So this fight now, this one is not a fatal stabbing, but they were fighting with the slop bucket. And one of the men ended up with puncture. This is the reality of our nation.
Ended up with puncture
wounds.
They were fighting with the slop bucket shark.
I don't know.
How do you end up with puncture wounds if you were fighting with that?
I'm sure, everybody's well armed, it seems, at prisons all over the place. So, you always got something nearby. Based on the movies I watch. That's all. I don't know anything other than that. But, yeah. So, in positive news, 11.2 million visitors, and that's a record. And officials are crowing about it, glowing about it, how wonderful 2024 was, and they are very optimistic about 2025. For more on how wonderful things are going with tourism in the country, take a listen to this report from our Vani Katut.
This is the best year ever, exceeding 2023's record.
The Bahamas saw a record-breaking 11.22 million overall foreign air and sea arrivals in 2024 over the previous year, and surpassing 2019's figure by 54.7%. This fell short of the 12 million visitor arrivals projected by tourism officials last year. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper released the latest figures during a news conference on Wednesday.
Out of that number, foreign air arrivals across all destinations exceeded 1.72 million, equaling the 1.72 million arrivals recorded in 2023, and surpassing the 1.67 million foreign air arrivals recorded in 2029 by 3.3%.
Meanwhile, Cooper says December 2024 was the best month ever for the Bahamian tourism industry, with 1.15 million visitors. That's 14% higher than December 2023 and 62% more than 2019.
There has been 8.7% growth reported in air arrivals, second only to Abaco with an 11.9% growth over 2023. This indeed is cause for celebration, given the devastation, and ought to be heralded in the wake of the pre-Dorian and pre-COVID level results.
The tourism minister says this remarkable rebound ought to be heralded, noting the Bahamas achieved the record-breaking numbers despite Hurricanes Milton and Oscar, the U.S. elections, and the limited capacity in room inventory, which continues to dampen the trajectory of growth in air arrivals. He also touched on the economic benefits of cruise business.
These passengers and crew visits along with additional expenditures by the cruise lines generated a total of $654 million in cruise tourism expenditure in the Bahamas in 2023-2024, according to this report, compared to $405 million in 2018. This is a staggering 61% overall increase. Yes, that when we add direct employment, taxes, levies, and the overall benefits, it exceeds $1.25 billion, with overall tourist spending in the $6 billion range.
Tourism Director General Latia Duncombe says there is an aggressive push to build on the record-breaking year. The ministry has a sales and marketing budget of $12 million.
While we celebrate our continued success of our visitors' numbers, our 2025 strategy and focus is very clear. Attracting more stopover visitors, enhancing connectivity through increased airlift, and promoting a more diverse and sustainable tourism product that benefits all Bahamians. Our ultimate goal is to establish 16 self-sustaining, economically viable destinations.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Okay, let's get your reaction to it, folks. News there. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Call us toll free, 242-300-5720. Want to highlight this part of the article in today's Nassau Guardian Laverne for you. Grand Bahama and Abaco, two islands that were left reeling after Hurricane Dorian in 2019, saw increases in air arrivals. Cooper said there was an 8.7% growth in air arrivals for Grand Bahama last year and 11.9% increase in Abaco, calling it remarkable. He said the impressive tourism figures came despite Hurricanes Milton and Oscar, as you heard him say in that clip just now. And also pointing to the limited room inventory, which, had it not been for that, we could have had some even more impressive numbers. So, how are you feeling about that? Can you feel that on the ground in Grand Bahama before we go to these calls, Laverne? Is that what you're feeling, or is her mic muted?
My mic was muted.
See, now you can't. Now that's too inconvenient. Now you can't do that.
Sorry about
because you've done
that.
now. Because that was like
Dwight,
perfect.
I always say I always say, but
I don't know now because that was crickets. That was crickets. That's not cool. So
yeah, no, that wasn't the crickets. That wasn't crickets.
That was an unintentional silence.
That was genuine.
Boy, I tell you, what a time for that to happen. What a time for that to happen.
I was talking, and then of course I got the alert that your mic was muted. For real, seriously.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so seriously. Continue, please. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is being felt on the ground. To hear that we have increased airlift, of course, that's good. But I also want us to be mindful that there is ongoing work going down at the happening at the shipyard, and that lends to the increased airlift. It also is a part of why you see that, and I'm going back to the conclave and the Deputy Prime Minister indicated, that one of the hotels is booked until January. Well, is booked to the end of February. Right. A lot of that is also based on the shipyard, the Grand Bahama shipyard, and, having workers come over and a number of them stay there. So
you're saying it's a Ministry of Works that should be celebrating, or and work permits and stuff.
And you're always grateful for an increase in tourism. So I'm never going to knock that. But I can't tell you honestly that people are feeling the benefits of that.
Mm-hmm. I heard
of having that increase in the airlift. I don't necessarily know how that is translating into dollars for businesses.
Right. I heard your friend Darren, who's been on with us a few times, who was on with Naughty earlier in the week on Talking Heads, saying that, taxis aren't really feeling that, and Other businesses, some in the port, I think you were saying that were you saying that on Monday as
Yeah.
well? Are not quite
Yeah.
showing this, experiencing this boom.
Right. Because again, like I said, you have increased airlift, yes, but that increased airlift, does that have to do with people coming and wanting to see Grand Bahama and experience the culture of not only Grand Bahama, but the Bahamas? Or is it more because there is work being done at the Grand Bahama shipyard? And so, of course, they are flying people in. These people, when they come, are they going out and about and, spending money that way? Or are they working and trying to save as much money as they send it back home?
Oh boy. Well, aren't they like going to the supermarkets or renting
Yeah, for
cars?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
are. They are. Some of them, you rent a car, 4 or 5 of you in a car, but that's a rental,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know. So,
But
like I said,
not tourists in the traditional sense. No.
right, not
Okay.
tourists in the traditional sense.
Okay.
And so we have to be mindful of that. When you hear, for me, I'm always listening with the words. What words? Okay, but what does that mean? Because you can say something and it could be taken as something else. So, and I know that that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear increased airlift and you go, oh my God, more people are coming to Grand Bahama. Yeah, to do work, but by the shipyard.
Okay.
Like I said, if you have more, some of them are tourists, it's wonderful because I'm never gonna, say that's great. It is great for those who, and so the food store may have seen an increase.
Yeah. Hopefully the one that was having the issues with the shelves, they're stocked now,
Dwight,
or has that
no,
improved? No. Oh dear.
no,
Oh boy.
no. The issue continues.
Yikes.
They shuttered one of them, the one in Lucaya, and I did have an opportunity to stop by the other one to remain open. They've, of course, adjusted their hours, but from what I can see, basically it's just a matter of continuing, I guess, to try to sell whatever things that you may have. It's not, yeah.
Okay.
And it makes me sad, right?
Yeah, it's very
My
depressing.
heart is with entrepreneurs. And people invest their money into anyways, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. Okay, we got some calls coming in and some messages. Let's go to the calls, and we'll get to your text messages in just a second. Good morning, caller. You are on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Laverne.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Laverne. I believe that I was actually more happy than Dwight when you called in on Monday because I thought I had to wait until today to actually ask you those questions. Mm-hmm. It just so happened at this time that I was in Freeport during the speech on Friday night, and I was able to see the reality myself.
Okay.
The photo that they actually sent from Port Lucaya, that was during the day. I went there also that evening at 8:30, and it was not far different from what you saw during the day. Okay. Also, I live in Holmes's Rock. There's supposed to be a motorcade from West End going to Freeport to the conclave that night. There was a 3-car motorcade, okay? Because where they had the grill and chill, obviously, is across the road from where I stayed. And there were not a dozen persons who came in to get a free meal from that grill and chill. Okay? So that can actually tell you what the people are tired, okay, of the mistruth. Okay? The road in 8 Mile Rock is worse than the back road that they have that you take shortcut by the beach. Okay? So not only Nassau is full of potholes, okay? The main road in 8 Mile Rock have a lot of potholes. Okay? Hardly any businesses had more than maybe 12 persons. And there only but maybe 3, not more, 4 businesses operating on Port Lucaya on a Saturday night. Okay? That never happened before. I had a close relative who actually worked with the financial controller at Lucaya during both governments. I understand that Hong Kong used to send checks of $100,000 a month. Sorry, or $1 million a month, obviously, to subsidize the vendors who work there and also some of the salary. You know, now the figure I may be a bit off of the figure, but y'all can ask the line to check that. Okay? So it sounds as though Ahalukai never really made a profit from its inception. All right?
Okay.
So as far as and then also he said the hotel was there full. Well, I know across the road at where the people were staying in the conclave, they were actually full with people who they actually fly into the conclave. But Ahalukai, there was nothing happening there. Okay? And only memories next door. And it's open actually. They have maybe people from Carnival and that. So
interesting.
I found later that the DPM was obviously speaking to the people in Nassau, because obviously he wasn't talking to people in Freeport.
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting stuff. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let me ask you this before we take this call, Laverne. Is it possible that people are coming in but going to Airbnbs, or is that a major market there?
I'm sure that there are some people who come here and stay in Airbnbs, but not to the extent that, it is booming.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, okay? Just like the caller said, and I think we need to, some may be saying, well, a lot of people aren't calling in from Grand Bahama, and so things must be okay. It's not that. It's people are over here, we're in survival mode. You're just trying to hunker down and do what you could do, right? And you're tired, if I can say that. Or maybe I'm projecting. I'm tired.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe
All
it's
right.
just me.
Let's take these calls. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight.
Hi. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dwight.
Hi. Yes, we can hear you.
Dwight, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, good morning to you and good morning to your guest. Dwight, it's good to see positive news on the headline today. What I want to say to all Bahamians, tourism is all of our business, all right? The mere fact that I think it's 80 cents of every dollar comes from the tourists from North America. And so we need to understand that when you see the government got to pay these 20,000 plus civil servants, that money is backed by tourist money. Okay? So all Bahamians need to be glad and thankful that God is favoring us to allow us to see the tourist arrivals that we're getting. Okay, these people, they go to our food stores, they go to our restaurants, they patronize our taxi drivers. They spend this tourist money, and so we need to appreciate this. And like I say, I end on this the way as it relates to Freeport. All Freeport needs, they need an uplift with the cruise lines, uplift with the airport. Air arrivals, but they need to build the airport first. Just enhance the casinos and market Freeport. Just get a good marketing team and market it and bring the tourists in. That's it. They want to come to the Bahamas, and most of all, Dwight, you may not believe this. Most of all, I work in the tourism industry. These tourists love Bahamian people. They love interacting with us. They come back just for certain people because of the way we treat them and how we show them love and we be hospitable. It's all Bahamians' responsibility.
Okay.
Treat our guests, treat our tourists with the most love and kindness so that they can come back, so that we can maintain the lifestyle, that we're enjoying as Bahamians. And that's what I want to say today.
Wow.
Let us appreciate the increase with the arrivals, and it is impacting all Bahamians. I don't care what profession, what job you work in. If it's not for that tourist dollar back in our money, you wouldn't even be able to get a paycheck.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Calls taking me back to the 80s. We haven't talked
right?
that. Maybe the 1880s too, maybe. But I don't know.
But just to let the caller know, I get it. Appreciate.
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
I don't think that we were not appreciating and not saying. But I just wanted to, one of the things that he said is, enhance our casinos. So I call it, I just don't have any casinos, okay?
No, that one's
all of closed. We don't have casinos here.
And he also said marketing. I think
you're aware.
The issue is a lot more than marketing with Grand Bahama.
I think that you oversimplify the issues, but just so you know, where in your conversations, just be aware that we cannot enhance what we do not have. And so we don't have any casinos here in Grand Bahama. But okay.
So I said 1980s and then 1880s. Someone was texting and saying maybe 1780s. Wow. But definitely a throwback. I haven't heard that type of talk in a long
Yeah, I was getting uncomfortable that,
time.
the tourists and the tourists, and not to say that we're against it, but that, that feel.
Well, wow.
That feel.
Yeah. Good Lord. Ooh. Good morning, caller.
Just was waiting for Massa to come back anyway.
But we love the tourists. We love tourism, of course, absolutely, and we need to refine and better define our tourism product all over the country, everywhere, especially New Providence. So agree with that.
Make sure that we are showing and displaying Bahamian culture. It should not be left up to cruise ports and
hotels,
cruise ships and hotels
and resorts. It cannot be up to them.
And it cannot be up to them. And these keys that only they go to, and you determine when they come. I want people to be able to genuinely.
Yeah. All right. So messages. We do want to get to what the Minister Chester Cooper is saying about Grand Lucayan. We'll get to that in a bit. Let me read these messages and we'll get to these calls before we have to take a break. This person says here, the only thing going up with the tourism numbers is the cost of living. Maybe we should stop breaking records with the tourism numbers. The average Bahamian cannot catch a break. Wow. The texter also, that's on a different texter there. Okay, interesting. Also saying that some of these, you all are thinking that these slot buckets are new, these are old, and so it's very easy for them to become sharp and dangerous. Well,
okay.
Good to know. Can you imagine? Can you imagine getting stabbed
I prefer not to
by a slop bucket?
Dwight, don't go down that road. Please.
Oh, my God. Like, just
please
cut off the part that got punctured. Like, I don't need it anymore.
I ask you not to go down that road.
Man, oh, man. Dear God. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight.
Hi.
And good morning, Laverne. Yes, to Doubting Thomas, delusional Tom, who just called just now, right? I don't know where this guy is I know where he's be getting it from. He's be getting it from the same person was uttering all of this utter nonsense to the Bahamian people, because how Chester Cooper expect for the Bahamian people to be here with him after what he said in Grand Bahama? Who could believe him, right? And then he is boasting to the fact that all of these arrivals and all of them crap, right? But where are we saying that? We just saw a video just a day or two ago where a taxi driver was being harassed by a police officer in the process of getting a job, right? So if tourists were so up, why is these type of things happening? If tourists coming looking to associate themselves with the local entrepreneurs and the tourism sector.
Which part?
Right?
The taxi thing? Why would that happen?
Yeah, if so much people on the ground, right? If so much people is on the ground and coming, right? You don't think a lot of them can need some taxis, right?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I trying to figure out who Chester Cooper think he is talking to. Only could be delusional Tom who just come on this radio, right? Because at the end of the day, nowhere in this country you could see tourism other than on those keys where they just get them, right? From the Nassau, they then seconded the other areas where Bahamian people only are, well owned by foreigners. And as a matter of fact, we need to get rid of this kind of tourism, because we have a whole minister walking around glorifying about tourism, and we don't even own tourism. We just work there. What if he was finding ways in his term the cost there to be more Bahamian entrepreneurs in that field around the country, growing their tourism product or growing the tourism products for them, right? So you really could feel the tourism because John down the road in his 12-room hotel and Andrew down the road in his 15-room hotel would have been saying, yeah, man, he right. But for him to be coming on this radio time after time trying to convince us, but he is record-breaking this and record-breaking that, and only him and delusional Tom could see it, something has to be wrong with
All
that.
right, so I hear you. That's an interesting point. I mean, I don't know if that is necessarily the Ministry of Tourism's role there, right? Maybe that's economic affairs, finance. I'm not sure. But I get you. The government. Let's just say the government. I don't think we need to single out ministers on this. The government needs to absolutely encourage more of that. And I think that is happening, but probably not to the extent that many would like.
Right. One time in the Bahamas, right? One time, the Bahamas was number one in the world with tourism, Dwight. Yeah, Dwight, you don't remember? Dwight,
okay.
One time ago, the Bahamas was number one with tourism.
That's better. Yes, okay. Region, sure.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yes, sorry, in the region with tourism, right?
Right.
Right? But where are we now?
I mean, we're still number one in cruise, I believe, right? Is that not right?
Yeah, we are number one
but
in
definitely
cruise
not in
because
stopover.
we have the waters. Right, we have the water, the waters and the availability to cruise. The rest of the Caribbean is not set up like the Bahamas. The Bahamas is set up in a way where we could have just cruising through the Bahamas because of our enormous destination.
Yeah. We have some unique issues and challenges, but I hear you. More needs to be done to encourage more Bahamians to have an active role, not just work there, as you say, ownership in this. And boutique hotels, we've been talking about that for a long time. I think the Ministry of Tourism definitely does promote and encourages that, but it's not easy for people to get into that for various reasons. And so that's a challenge. So, again, that's collective governments need to see if they can help to make that more of a reality for folks. All right, some messages here. We're going to have to take a break very soon. This person says here, sir, I live in Grand Bahama. I have an Airbnb in South Bahamia. My Airbnb was booked last year and just yesterday had some check-ins for 6 days. No, it's not very good in Freeport, but I can see some movements on the ground. Okay, so you hear that? Laverne?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And that's why I said I am sure that there are people who, I'm not trying to say that there is nothing happening. All I'm saying is let's not exaggerate what is happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. What? I don't understand the text. Record-breaking numbers. What? What are they saying? Or was it? The prisoners seem to love it. I guess it's back to slot buckets because many of them won't stay out of there. Any comment on that one, Laverne?
I want you know, I don't even want to
go
visit
back
this
there.
conversation.
Right.
I don't want to.
This text says the caller is right. The Ministry of Tourism should be responsible for setting up entrepreneurs as owners in the industry. The Ministry of Tourism. Okay. The government should be helping more people to be able to do it. Yes. I don't know which ministry it would be, but I hear you. Okay. We're going to take one more call and then we're going to take a break. Yes, caller, good morning. You are on the air.
Good morning, Cousin Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
And good morning, Laverne.
Good morning, GNN.
How are you? How are you all doing this morning?
We're doing well.
Good.
Dwight, listen to me. It's obvious I want to give Laverne this action plan to come get her from Freeport. Let her come here and find out if the females are using slop buckets too. I need to find that out.
You need Laverne to do this? Really?
Yeah, but Laverne is a female. I wouldn't want you going to female.
No, I mean, but there are other women here. I mean, we don't need to bring Laverne in just to do slop bucket patrol.
I don't know the other women. I know Laverne.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say get out of Grand Bahama where nothing's happening and move to New Providence.
Oh, no. I need an action. I need a female to do.
You keep trying to
No,
get
I
me
thought
to
that's what he was
move.
saying. I didn't say that's what he is happening.
Okie dokie.
Okay, but you want to find out if the women are using slop buckets?
Yes.
I heard you call in
saying-
another show yesterday and say that. Yeah, that's a good. We're going to try to find out for you.
Yes, right. You need to find out. And I ain't into all that. I read that theatrics and stuff what Chester Cooper and them talking about in there, or some of the callers. Only one thing I want to know with the tourists, how much money you leave. That's what I want to know. How much money you leave in the coffers for the Bahamian people. Thanks for taking my call, Dwight and Laverne.
Okay, all right. Got write the list down. Maybe we'll have a story in the paper on it too, on the slot buckets. Okay, hey, let's take a break. We're still doing it. Songs that were record of the year, Laverne. The songs that you still remember today that were record of the year with the Grammy Awards and how things have changed. Oh, my Lord.
You don't like this?
What?
This
I didn't say anything. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? I'm just talking about the great records.
I'm just asking. You
I
didn't like this
didn't
song
say.
of the year?
You know,
you didn't
I
like this record of the year?
I don't even know it, but it's not like the rest of them. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
The thrill of boy meeting girl opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. What's love got to do? Got to do with it. What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? It may seem to you that I'm acting confused when you're close to me.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
RBC. Life is full of twists, turns, and defining moments that create your own unique story. However your story unfolds, we're here to help guide you through it. From every big decision to every new adventure, RBC. Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/all of you.
In the world of business, technology is not a choice, it's a necessity. And for businesses that demand excellence, there's only one choice for unparalleled support and cutting-edge technology. Custom Computers. You have challenges and we have solutions. Computing, networking, storage, and printing for enterprises large and small, aligned with premium brands like HP, Microsoft, Konica Minolta, and more. Get tech done the right way with Custom Know-How Team at 396-1101.
On Saturday, February 22nd, 2025 at 7 p.m., the Bahamar Convention Center will set the stage for an unforgettable celebration of 25 years of giving back and supporting healthcare education in the Bahamas. Experience a night of excitement with exquisite fine dining, captivating live entertainment, and an inspiring atmosphere as we come together to celebrate and shape a brighter, healthier future. Tickets are available now. Reserve your spot today by emailing dhfoundation@doctorshost.com or calling 242-302-4640. Sponsorship opportunities are also available to show your support for this important cause. The Doctors Hospital Maya Rassin Foundation. 25 years of transforming healthcare and building a legacy. Don't miss this special celebration.
It's time for your first look at traffic for the morning, brought to you by RBC. Find your loan solution with RBC. In real-time traffic, Mile Butler Highway, as usual, a hot spot for you this morning. Heavy traffic from the Fire Trail roundabout straight up to Tawny Queens Darling Highway if you're heading northbound. Traffic backed up both directions along Fire Trail, especially westbound this morning. And you're seeing a lot of congestion on Faith Avenue, which runs parallel to Mile Butler Highway, northbound, heading into Fire Trail. Over on Glasson Road, also busy for you from Fire Trail straight up to John F. Kennedy Drive, Bahamar Boulevard. You're seeing a bit of congestion on the JFK Drive side as well. Along Lake Cunningham, you're going to be seeing that if you're heading eastbound. And then east of the roundabout, you're going to be seeing heavy traffic heading towards roundabout with Prospect Ridge Road as well. Then we've got Blue Hill Road from Carmichael straight up to traffic for you. East Street also seeing slow-moving northbound traffic north and south of the Soldier Road intersection. In eastern New Providence, you've got Eastern Road, heavy traffic from San Susie to about Johnson Road, westbound Prince Charles Drive, and the major intersections as well. And especially as you get closer to Soldier Road, and you'll be seeing that westbound, slow-moving traffic all the way up to Marathon East-West Highway. If you are on Robinson Road. Soldier Road north of the intersection with Prince Charles also busy for you straight through to Bernard Wolf and Village Road. Bit of slow-moving downtown traffic as well near Nassau Street on West Bay Street and downtown Bay Street in front of the Straw Market. That's where it's tracking your Morning Blend Traffic Alert. Another update for you after the 8 o'clock news. Morning Blend Traffic brought to you by RBC. Start a conversation at rbc.com/loan/all of you. And time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Easy Car Sales. You've got this ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate weather across the country, maintaining mostly. That's going to continue for the next few days, with occasionally strong breezes over the central and southeast Bahamas. Beachgoers and swimmers in the central and southeastern islands need to exercise caution and remain alert, as there's a risk for rip currents. And beachgoers and swimmers in the northwest Bahamas along Atlantic exposures also need to exercise caution. For today, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, turning fair and mild tonight. High temperatures near 84 Fahrenheit, 29 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 66 Fahrenheit, about 18, 19 Celsius. In your extended outlook, for Friday tomorrow, partly mostly sunny, becoming fair at night. Only about a 20% chance of light passing showers over the northern and the northwest and central Bahamas. By Saturday, partly sunny, becoming fair at night, 20% chance of light passing showers. Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, partly sunny, mostly fair at night, about a 10% chance of showers. And Monday, partly sunny, becoming mostly fair at night. The high temperatures in the mid-80s will continue until the start of next week at least, and lows in the upper 60s. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Easy Car Sales. Easy Car Sales is turning up the romance with electric vibes. Take a test drive in an EV during the month of February, and you'll be entered to win a 2-night stay at the Grand Hyatt with a $500. Visit easy242.com and feel the love from Easy Car Sales this February.
Are you ready to break up with your car? Easy Car Sales invites you to fall in love with an electric vehicle. Ditch the gas pump, the expensive mechanics. Feel the freedom, the power. Visit easy242.com and make a date to test drive an electric vehicle today. Get into a better relationship. Find your perfect match at Easy Car Sales and drive electric happily ever after.
Are you craving that fresh, famous food, but don't want to break the bank? Wendy's has got you covered. You can now enjoy the $5 Dave's deal at all participating Wendy's locations. Enjoy a Dave's single, a classic, or spicy chicken sandwich made with fresh ingredients for just $5. So don't compromise on flavor just because you're on a budget. Wendy's always offers fresh, famous food at a great price. Certain conditions apply.
Maybe it's time to explore your options. There's no harm in reviewing your mortgage arrangement and considering a better deal. CIBC Caribbean can search and decide. Switch your mortgage to CIBC Caribbean and enjoy a special interest rate and help towards your switching cost. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/inspired home for more information. Conditions apply.
You must understand, the touch of your hand makes my pulse react. That it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Hello, it's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to meet to go over everything. They say the time's supposed to heal ya, but I ain't done much healing. Hello, can you hear me? I'm in California dreaming about who we used to be when we were younger and free. I've forgotten how it felt before the world fell at our feet. There's such a difference between us and a million miles. Hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done. But when I call, you never seem to be home. Hello from the outside. At least I can say that I've tried to tell you.
We're back with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner on this Thursday morning. Former record of the year, Laverne. Hello there. Yeah?
Dwight, I think you're having an issue.
No, just playing record. That's what we're doing. That's the theme of the music all week long.
Hey, why is that? Why are you doing this?
'Cause
Why?
these
What
are great-
prompted?
What?
What
The Grammys
prompted
were on
you?
Sunday. Grammys were on Sunday.
Right.
And so we're playing
And so
songs that
you
previously won Record of the Year. There were a lot of great songs. You've been hearing them all week. We Are the World, right? There's so many more. More to come. More to come.
Did you have an issue
Hmm?
on Sunday
What are you talking about?
with Song of the Year
And Record of the Year. It won both.
and Record of the Year?
That's not what
Did
we're
you
talking
have
about
an
today. I'm
issue?
just playing songs that have won, previous songs that have won, songs that everyone, almost everyone, remembers and can sing in front of Grammy or the kids, and everything's gonna be okay. Some other stuff.
Well, they not like us.
That's true. Some people will sing anything in front of their kids. I think we have lots of evidence to support that. Today. Okay, so we are getting back to our conversation, talking about the great news coming from the Ministry of Tourism about the record visitors to the country for 2024. But, you know, some people are saying, hey, I don't feel it. I didn't see it. Not everybody got a piece of that action. And if we're mainly looking at sea arrivals, well then, But again, all air arrivals across went up too. So that's good stuff there. All right. So a previous caller saying that the Ministry of Tourism needs to do more to encourage entrepreneurs, small business people to get into the tourism sector.
I got a text that said tourism. I want to quote said the Tourism Development
Yeah,
Corporation.
so they said it to all of us. They
Yeah.
said it to the text line, to my private phone, to you two. They wanted to make sure this got on the air. The SBDC and the Tourism Development Corporation and the Ministry of Tourism are all pushing for Bahamians and ownership in tourism and assisting with grants and loans. And that is important.
That is true.
Mhm.
That is true.
So there you go. Okay, we want to get to the what the minister was saying about Grand Lucayan in a bit. Let's take these calls and then we'll get to that. Good morning, caller. You are on the air. Hi, are you there? Let's take the other call. Good morning. You're on the air. How are you? Are you there? Hi, okay. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing, guys?
Doing well.
Yeah, Dwight, the numbers is misleading, 1 point air arrivals, to the Bahamas out of almost 12 million it's a very small and discouraging figure, but Dwight, we in the cruise ship department, they ain't our customers. They're the cruise ship customers. They are the cruise ship customers who use this place as an itinerary, So the cruise ships, the cruise line, they basically design their itinerary and excursion to maximize their own profit. So we get a lot of profits leaving here with the cruise line. Some people don't even have to come off the ships. And not to say that we like to encourage them to come off the ship, but to our demise is that when these people come here, they got to have things to do. They got to have experience. And not because you feel they come in here by cruise ship means they can stick their hands in their pocket and they can automatically spend their money. That's not how it works. But downtown Nassau, you talking about a cruise port we invested in. It's fixed. It looks nice. They're talking about it. And when you come off the boat...
You mean the cruise port?
The cruise port.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We welcome in more to cruise. They always talk about 10,000 visitors in port, but it's right up the street to the nearest beach and walking distance. It looks like a shanty town. You telling me the cruise port going into their third year, right? And only thing that happens in Bay Street is a few murals, and Junkanoo Beach is still in the same state. No renovation has happened yet. Across the road, you have the cruise port have to do what they have to do for their customers to develop a beach club, which will be finished before they put a stall out by Junkanoo Beach. That's unacceptable. And the ministry, I don't know how the Minister of Tourism drives to work every day and pass Junkanoo Beach and accept the way that place looks.
It still looks better than east of East Street, even though they took down some of the bad buildings.
Exactly.
I mean, the place is a ghost town still.
And we spent almost $500,000 on Christmas decorations for the Junkanoo Beach area, which, in my opinion, man, you could that place should look like a marina village. You can encourage and entrepreneurship for people to be able to come off the boat. You say 12,000 people go to Junkanoo Beach a day. That's how that place looks. That's in walking distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's encouraging to see that people want to come to the Bahamas, but they don't have an option because the cruise ship, this is the closest. Proximity is what saves us, Yeah. If we want to have a conversation, the proximity, Carnival Cruise Line cannot, and Disney cannot do a 3-day cruise. They can operate 2 cruises. One cruise ship can come here twice a week on a 3-day cruise. They cannot go any place in the Eastern Caribbean or any place down south in less than 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the Bahamas has proximity, and that's what's saving us. But the overall experience is invested in. Yeah, you got the SBDC. Yeah, you got Small Business Development, the Tourism Development, but it's a drop in the bucket based on the amount of entrepreneurs, the small grants. You could barely rent a spot in Nassau to put a small business.
Yeah.
You could encourage people to start small, like, for instance, bike or a little something around here. You don't even have the infrastructure to do these things because you don't even have bike lanes or walking lanes for pedestrians. You want to develop stuff, but you don't have the infrastructure in this town to do stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine somebody want to develop a business on. Look at that place, man.
I mean, just even street signs. Every day I see tourists on bikes and stuff, and the motorcycles. I'm like, you all really taking your lives in your hands? Because, I mean, how do you know where you are?
My
Really?
biggest pet peeve, Dwight, my biggest pet peeve is there is one bathroom on Jonquil Beach. You say 12,000. One bathroom. So how could a family come off that cruise ship? One bathroom by the 66th step. One bathroom by Fort Finn Castle. No public bathrooms within the city. So how are these people supposed to come off the cruise ship? A female who probably at a time of month or to come off and spend a day in this town when you can't find clean public restrooms to use. That's what peers I have in this town.
Well, they'll do what the people downtown do, just go on the side of a building. And so that's what we're encouraging,
the town is
unfortunately.
not welcoming, man.
Yeah.
The government has to do its part, and I think the cruise line pays into development fund. But at the end of the day, these people have first-hand with the guests first experience.
Yeah.
They sell the tours on the cruise line, and the Bahamians get a percentage of it, which they get the audience. They're their customers. What are we going to do to get our customers, those people who could fly in here and spend 5 days?
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And Laverne, you and I were talking about it earlier. You know, if you're relying on the cruise industry, the cruise ships and the hotels and the resorts to define your tourism product, you're going to end up with what we have been doing.
Yeah.
And we know other cities. Look at the famous tourism sites all over the world, the cities that really thrive on tourism and are tourism meccas. I mean, they had crazy visions and built massive monuments that attract people every day to come and see these things, right? We don't have that really, and we have a few colonial trappings. We have some forts left over from the other people. But what have we done? What have we created that people will say, I need to go to the Bahamas to see that? That is not a resort. We don't have anything anywhere other than natural beauty. We don't have it. And you're looking for trouble if you leave it up to a hotel to define you.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I think that we really need to, excuse me, understand that this is our product, not just to work in to get a job here, but to ship. This is our product. We have to curate this product. We have to make sure that this product is a representation of us. And when you leave it in the hands of other people who think that it should look a certain way, then you're going to run into problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Bahamians need to see it as this is our product, the kinds of experiences that we want people to have when they walk away from this place, when they've gone back home and they are sharing their experiences. We want them to share experiences that is a reflection of us and who we are as the people, and not just, you know, sun, sand, and sea, but the entire thing. But we have to take ownership of it.
Absolutely.
But if we keep relying on the hotels to say, this is what it should look like no way should we still be advocating that hotels should play Bahamian music and have Bahamian musicians and other artists. That shouldn't be, it should be a given. If you're going to have a hotel here, these are the things that come with it. I don't care what kind of hotel. This is a part of it, right? Because what's not going to happen is you come here and you're telling people experience such and such in the Bahamas. No, experience the Bahamas in the Bahamas.
Absolutely. Let's take these calls quickly. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Strachan. Am I on now?
Yes, you are.
Oh, yes, it was hot. Good morning, Ms. Gardner. How you doing this morning, ma'am?
Good morning.
Mr. Strachan, I hear you talking about the tourism product and all these different things, how the Bahamian people need to own more of the stuff and stuff like that, right? Now, Mr. Strachan, I mean, I'm the kind of man, I'm about solutions, Mr. Strachan. You know, the kind of way. I can't take too much.
Can't take too much. Are you there? Okay, call us back.
I thought it was me.
No, something happened.
What happened here?
All right, we're on fence now. Can't take too much.
Yes.
What is it? Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Are you there? Let's take that other one. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning to your co-host.
I had a feeling you would call in today.
Dwight,
Hi.
you know exactly what I'm going to say,
Yes.
but I'll say it for the record. Until we decide to have ownership of our tourism product, we will continue to repeat the same class for the next. I think your co-host hit the nail right on the head. Tourists come to a destination for an experience. The only experience that they experience in the Bahamas is one of foreign expressions. It is sad, it is sickening, and enough is enough. The government of the Bahamas must create incentives so that Bahamians can invest in the number one economic pillar in our country, which is tourism. If we continue to depend on the foreign direct investors to create a Bahamian experience, we'll be living this dream for the next 50 years. It is absolutely insane to do what we continue to do.
Mm-hmm.
The cruise ship business is about cruise ships, just as one of your former callers said. I believe I heard the minister say that there was some $600 million realized from the tourism product this year. Well, if you look at the numbers then, 11 plus million tourists coming, and most of them cruise ship passengers, it means that they spend less than $100 per visitor. Is that any kind of return on investments of billions of dollars that we put in the tourism product? Back in the 50s and 60s, and I'm going to end with this, we had over 50 nightclubs operating in New Providence alone. And I believe the young lady from Grand Bahama will tell you that indeed Grand Bahama was a mecca of entertainment during that era.
Yeah.
Where we had any number of nightclub experiences out. We have to stop the foolishness and invest in Bahamians. I would rather have 2 million tourists spending money with Bahamians than 11 million spending money with foreigners. Let us get back to basics and run this country for Bahamians first. You see what America is doing? Well, we always follow America. Let's take a page from America. Bahamian, the Bahamas must be for Bahamians first. Every experience that we have in this country that's controlled by foreign direct investors is giving them a foreign experience. Just recently, we opened a popularly say the number one nightclub in the Bahamas, and it's named after John Baptiste. A New Orleans experience in the Bahamas. Whereas I love it. I love New Orleans. But I don't expect to come to the Bahamas to experience New Orleans. They had the second line group in opening when that could have very well been a John Canoe group.
Wow.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And the Bahamians are just sitting back, glorifying in these numbers that they are spewed out by the Minister of Tourism that makes absolutely no sense economically.
My goodness.
Thank you very much.
Freddie, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Wow. Here's some text messages. This person says here, we are grateful for the tourism numbers, but we have to be really careful. Last weekend, I watched a few YouTube videos where people were explaining why they don't come off the ships in Nassau. And it's so sad to hear. They speak about the nagging vendors, the unbelievable taxi prices, the dirty environment, the jam up and unattractiveness of Junkanoo Beach, which is closest to the port. I was so embarrassed to hear it. However, many of the people spoke fondly of the people and food, but is that enough to bring them back? Wow. This person says here, the taxi lines, loading zone lines are faded on Bay Street, and it was like this before the pandemic. Bay Street is crowded. The guests are here, but it's not busy. Taxi drivers, jewelry stores, straw market vendors are not feeling any of this. They're feeling nothing but the punch from the lack of spending. It is very difficult right now. Wow. This person is saying, would a proper bus station built on Bay Street near the Paradise Island Bridge help with congestion, especially the traffic that exists on Bay Street? I think they're trying to say they believe that Bay Street should be one way. Or they were not. You're against it being a one-way street. That's what you're saying. Well, okay. Why are we still depending on tourism to live as a country? Let's not be silly. Come on now. That's not an uncommon thing. It is not a terrible thing. But are we doing tourism right? That's the question. Plenty places, many cities. That is their number one industry. So yes, there are risks with that. But you don't have to throw it all away. I'll continue with your text. We have so many natural resources we can depend on to make our country great. Okay. We shouldn't depend on what we can't control. It is great to attract tourists, but we have a line. That shows that our leaders have no vision. Yeah, what else are you thinking? Tell us, send us some messages about what else you think will be great for 400,000 people. We're going to take this call, and then we need to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight, and good morning to Laverne.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Listen, one of the things that came to mind is it a law or a rule, or is it just said that the tourism industry should be left for Bahamians, is my question.
Obviously, it's not a thing. What do you mean?
I said that because if you go on Bay Street, the faces that you see in those stores standing and inviting persons to come in, it's not us.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into the straw market, the language that you hear is not us.
Oh, really?
It's not. I'd like to do myself a favor from time to time, leave my car home or park over the hill somewhere and take a stroll on Bay Street. Just walk through.
I know what you're saying about the stores.
They think you're a tourist.
What do you hear?
I can just walk through.
What language are you hearing in the straw market?
More of Creole languages.
Oh, okay.
Persons speaking a lot of Creole. There's a lot of Creole persons working in there. Even there, when they're trying to invite the tourists in, you can hear they are struggling to speak English. And when you go past the stores, you see what look to be like either Indian or Pakistani or, all those different types of persons standing in the doorways of those stores or on the outside of the stores, a lot of the stores. I think one of the only stores that I've seen that has the majority Bahamians in it is John Bull.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And their collective stores.
It's a big issue. 2003, I think that was the last time a Bahamian made me conch salad at the fish fry.
That too.
2003.
That too.
What? You've had Bahamians since then make you conch salad?
No, not since
My
then.
producer's looking very shocked. Oh, you're saying the 90s? Oh, he's saying the 90s. Oh, boy. But 2000.
His one goes back even further.
Okay.
But, so this is what I'm trying to figure out. So, even in the taxis, so what I want to know is the persons who are giving license to these persons, are they a part of the government agency that says tourism business should be left for Bahamians? It's my question, and I would really like a government person, possibly the Trey Raman, who knows a lot of stuff, to answer. Thank you.
Getting a text saying the retail business is supposed to be for Bahamians. Boy. All right, so we've got to take a break. So this text says, did you see the post from the American Heart Association saying that Kendrick's song is the perfect count to time your chest compressions? Another reason that it's the record of the year. Hey, we're going to play it, Laverne. Have you heard it before? The record of the year, song of the year? Let's take a listen. Hopefully this is a clean version.
What's up with these jabroni trying to see Compton? The industry can hate me. Marlon, they mama. How many options you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body. I'm John Stockton. Beat your and hide the Bible if God watching. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up to score with him. Walk him down whole time, I know he got some him. Pull on him, extort, bully the flow on him. Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not hear the cell block one. To any that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that get your hand-me-downs. And party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baca got a weird case, right? Lover boys, certified pedophiles. Wop, 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 wop. That fuck 'em up. Wop, 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 wop. I'ma do my stuff. Why you trolling like a ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.
Every day in a busy world, we have to do so much. Bank with CIBC and get that personal touch. Share your ambitions, let us help your dreams come true. At CIBC, you're at the heart of all we do. We're on your side, we're listening, we know the way you feel. CIBC, ambitions made real.
Here's a price list of some of the roofing material we carry at Pinder Enterprises. 5/8 pressure-treated roofing ply starting at $36.68. Gray Select Water Shield, $134.20 a roll. Felt, 15 pounds, $16.50, 30 pounds, $19.80. Owens, Corning Duration Shingles, and Certain Teed Landmark Shingles, $56.56 a bundle. Gallon of roof cement, $33.47. All sizes treated dimensional lumber. And of course, we have all nails and all screws. We have 5/8 sheetrock, $28.76. Half-inch sheetrock, $22.18. All prices include VAT.
Spain sounds like this. But with a little Caribbean, it can sound like this. The world needs more Caribbean. And with FedEx, you can ship your products to every corner. With increased cargo capabilities, 24/7 shipment tracking, and shipping tools, take your business worldwide and enjoy life a bit more like us.
Now let me see EPIC. Hello? This Epic battery. This Miss Beulah from round the corner. I hear you're selling tires now on Wolf Road too.
Praise the Lord. It's about time. I live Fox Hill and Fire Trail. It's too far.
That ain't all. They open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sunday and holiday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My brother Sam, he's a hacker, and he could go right there and get fixed up.
Call us at 326-EPIC. We ship also to the Family Island.
RBC. Life is full of twists, turns, and defining moments that create your own unique story. However your story unfolds, we're here to help guide you through it. From every big decision to every new adventure, RBC. Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/all of you.
Don't shop at Sherwin-Williams then. Don't get the best service in the Bahamas then.
We're really strong in Sherwin-Williams. We don't just sell paint. We service you with a smile, good hearts, mind, soul, and body. And we love our customers as much as we love ourselves.
Yes, real talk.
I'm not just saying this
Real talk.
to impress myself.
We love to go beyond with customer service. So they feel delighted to come in Sherwin-Williams because they know I can either see Dee Dee, or I can see Shelly, or one of our other wonderful staff members. We treat our customers with the respect of our boss because there are many paint companies they could choose to go to. No, baby. If they go to some other paint companies, so I gonna get this little thing at the end of the week.
We want to make sure you get that little ting, Shelley. Come visit Shelley and Dee Dee at Sherwin-Williams Bahamas, and you'll surely find colour in every day.
It is time for your final look at weather for the morning, brought to you by Sherwin-Williams Paints. We've got a prominent ridge of high pressure across the country that's dominating weather across the archipelago, and that's maintaining the mostly dry and stable conditions. And it's going to continue for the next few days, with occasional strong breezes over the central and southeast Bahamas. As a result of those strong breezes, beachgoers and swimmers should exercise caution in those islands and should be on alert in the northwest Bahamas along Atlantic exposures. For today, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, turning fair and mild tonight. High temperatures around 84 Fahrenheit, 29 Celsius. Overnight low 768 Fahrenheit, about 18, 19 Celsius. In your extended outlook for Friday tomorrow, partly mostly sunny, becoming fair at night. Pretty much the same for Saturday and Super Bowl Sunday. Holding into Monday and Tuesday and even Wednesday of next week with highs hovering around 84, 85 Fahrenheit or 29 Celsius and overnight lows in the mid to upper 60s. That's your morning blend weather check brought to you by Sherwin-Williams Paints. Sherwin-Williams Paints have got you covered for all your painting and equipment needs. Visit Sherwin-Williams Paints online or in store today. And I've got another check of your traffic for the morning brought to you by RBC. Find your loan solution with RBC. Real-time traffic still heavy for you on Milo Butler Highway northbound. All the way up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway from south of the Fire Trail roundabout up to that roundabout. And then straight through to the roundabout with Sports Center Road and the Six-Legged roundabout. Heavy traffic for you there. Still, multiple directions are going to be seeing issues at the Six-Legged roundabout, including John F. Kennedy Drive, eastbound, southbound on New Providence Highway as well. Then we've got over on Glaston Road, still busy for you, northbound, slow-moving traffic on the way to the roundabout with John F. Kennedy Drive. And Tonic Williams Darling Highway is going to be seeing slow-moving west and eastbound traffic west of the Milo Butler roundabout. Blue Hill Road, not looking as bad as it was a bit earlier this morning. Still a bit of congestion near Carmichael. But as you get closer to Independence Drive, you can see that heavy traffic there. Independence Drive not looking good at all. Westbound, between the roundabouts, not moving. And eastbound also busy for you. And East Street seems to have some issues north of Soldier Road on the way to the roundabout with Independence Drive and East West Highway. And that's causing some of the slow-moving traffic we're seeing on Independence Drive. Wolf Road at a number of spots west of Marathon, you're going to be seeing slow-moving westbound traffic, but Robinson Road between Marathon and Soldier, heavy westbound traffic for you. And Eastern Road still busy from Fox Hill to about Johnson Road. That's your real-time traffic and your morning blend traffic alert brought to you by RBC. Start a conversation at rbc.com/loan/all of you.
We were good, we were gold, kind of dream that can't be sold. We were right till we weren't, built a home and watched it burn. I didn't want to leave you, I didn't want to lie. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers. Talk to myself for hours. See things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing.
We're back with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, along with Laverne Gardner. Hey, that one is last year's record of the year, Laverne. Yeah. What did you think of the current record of the year before?
What are you talking about?
You heard it.
I did not. I did not.
You didn't what? You didn't understand what was being said?
No, I couldn't.
Oh boy.
I was
We're gonna get in trouble.
Goodness, I don't really understand. I don't really understand.
I've been called a boomer and a Drake lover. This has nothing to do with it. This is not about that. But it's just that it's just so different from what you'd expect to be
The only
the
thing
record
I
of
know
the
is
year.
they not like us. I promise you, that's the only thing I know.
Oh, dear Lord.
I don't know anything else.
They're saying
I'm concerned.
racist.
You know, I'm sure you know. I I really enjoy watching football. So I'm concerned about the halftime show 'cause
Well, that might be a, well.
I don't know, maybe if I'm just showing my age here.
That's the
I
first
didn't
time we were
really
able to
understand.
play it on this, because we can't really play it. I mean, that was a clean
Is
version.
it profanity lady?
Oh, my goodness. Well, that was a clean version, so a lot of it was, yeah.
Right. And so
Mhm.
maybe that it lent to the reason why I couldn't understand it because and I was like Dwight, I was like concentrating. I was like, what? What's happening? What is this? What is he saying?
Well, again, he's being sued over it because of some of the allegations in the song. But that's not the point. The point is, again, it's just so different from what has traditionally
Different
been,
time.
right, been the record of the year. And to be calling out somebody for their bad behavior, and yeah, well, you should do that. Absolutely, do it. But I mean, record of the year? We Are the World was record of the year. Beat It was record of the year. Not like us. Okay. This texter says, back to tourism. I'm a tour guide, driver for a major tour company, driving tours all around all day, listening to tourists. It's almost a joke. The roads, the stray dogs, the begging, the hustling. Downtown, this tourism product is in the toilet. Oh boy. What about the fighting of the taxi drivers at the airport hotels and the cruise port too? That's a lot. That's a lot. Oh man.
It is.
Mhm.
I was looking, Dwight, for something I had written. I couldn't find it. I posted on Facebook. We were in New Providence. I can't remember why, but anyway, before we had to, before we gonna get our flight, and we were driving around. And of course, you know, I wanted to see the cruise port, so we went to the cruise port. And this goes back just to us owning our product. So as we're driving, the first and there are tourists on scooters. There's a lot happening, a lot going on. I've never seen so many cruise ships in one port. But
You sure it was scooters or was it the Mad Max type four-wheelers that they love to?
okay, there was, let me be honest, there was a lot going on. So
Mhm.
it may have been a cross section of both, but there were people walking. It was a lot. But one of the things, and I think I pointed it out. I pointed it out to Mark. And
Your husband,
as
Mark.
we were, yes,
Mhm.
your friend.
Who loves not like us. But anyway.
You digress.
Yes,
You
yes,
digress.
let's focus.
Yeah,
Focus.
refocus. So the first thing I hear is this song, and it's like a Spanish song. That's the first coming, I don't know, from a restaurant or whatever. Maybe
Probably
that
from
type of
Spanish Wells. No, you don't think it's a baby song?
So that's the first thing.
Mm.
First thing I hear. The other thing that stood out to me was one of the first stalls that I saw selling wares. They had some backpacks in colors that we would definitely associate with Jamaica, and picture of someone that I could see these backpacks, right, with dreadlocks and some other. Not gonna say they were knockoffs. I'm just saying, you know, those kinds of bags wouldn't typically be outdoors, but whatever. This is the first thing that I'm seeing as we're driving along. And pass another one, and it's basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, by the time we left, I was so sad.
Mm.
I was sad because, like, well, what are we really doing here? This is the first thing that I'm hearing and I'm seeing.
Yeah. Well, this text will make you sadder. This person says here, what's the point of tourism if Bahamians can't even solicit them? The police downtown are like the Gestapo, wasting our tax dollars, not fighting crime, but stopping taxi drivers from making money. It's sick. Mm-hmm. Well, plenty people need rides over the hill. Plenty people. Taxi drivers want to make money. Unfortunately, they are charging what many would consider mortgage payments. But if they wanted to diversify their input, money to be made. But anyway, they're going to say, I know Bahamians are being suppressed because I was a vendor until a foreigner decided that they needed to make my money and replace me, so I no longer have income. We are being suppressed into non-existence by foreigners who are the only ones making millions while we suffer. The police need not to be wasting their energy fighting civilians instead of crime. Okay, interesting. This person says, I often wonder what tour operators are charging tourists for, especially the Surrey rides. They go past dilapidated buildings and then turn around, and then what? Are you aware of the cost of that trip? No, but I saw a horse that
oh Lord,
that the other day that looked like I don't know what was going on with his hair. It was interesting.
That's a cause for concern.
Well, to say the least. Dwight, that song. Sorry?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That song of the year is not music. Can't believe that is what music is today, much less song of the year. Well, people loved it, though. I mean, you can love it. You can love it. Whatever. But again, it's just... Are we doing tourism correct? No. We have turned the idea of slave auctions on its head. What now? Where the slave now is bidding on which master they want. Okay, understand that part there? Wow.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't quite
process. It'll hit me later. It'll hit me after the show, probably. Dwight, those Mad Max ATV vehicles have to be taken off the road. They are hazardous and too many accidents have happened and too many injuries because of these monsters on the street. How are those vehicles even legal to be on our roads?
How is that even a good idea?
Hey, man, anything goes when tourism is involved in the Bahamas, it appears. I know that if you saw people on ATVs rolling down Wall Street, I think people would start running. But here on Bay Street, that's how we do it. But anyway, 11.2 million record numbers. So, hey. If we have time, we'll get back to the Grand Cayenne. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about human rights and the UN Office of the High Commission for Human Rights. And we're going to have a great discussion. So stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss it. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
No remorse, no regret. I forgive every word you say. Ooh, I didn't want to leave, baby. I didn't want to fight. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand.
All those loans I had were so overwhelming. Fidelity's debt consolidates into one easy payment with a built-in savings plan that pays me unbeatable interest. It's time to make that move to Fidelity. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Pinder is carrying a new line of tile, the Sky series of porcelain. Comes in 4 colors: Sky Noir, Sky Azure, Sky Gris, and this one, Sky Glance. In this particular tile, I think you'll find coin gray, silver gray, cloud gray, and gray. All of these are seamlessly blended to make the Sky Glance one beautiful tile. The Sky series of porcelain comes in 2 formats, 24 by 24 at $5.30 a square foot and 12 by 24 at $5.25 a square foot.
Alpha Sounds Promotion presents Back to Love, an unforgettable evening of smooth R&B vibes and cherished memories. Join us at the Nassau Cruise Port on Saturday, February 15th for a spectacular all-white affair featuring live performances by soul sensations Freddie Jackson,
Hey everybody, it's Freddie Jackson. I'm coming to Nassau, Bahamas, and we are looking forward to the night of love.
Also performing Regina Bell. Bahamas' very own Essence Band. Back to Love. Saturday, February 15th. It's a spectacular all-white affair at the Nassau Cruise Port. Get tickets online. BahamasEtickets.com. Plantation Bar and Grill. Big Boys Cafe. And Tropics Bar and Grill. For more info, contact 822-6863.
And I hope to see you there.
Are you ready to break up with your car? Easy Car Sales invites you to fall in love with an electric vehicle. Ditch the gas pump, the expensive mechanics. Feel the freedom, the power. Visit easy242.com and make a date to test drive an electric vehicle today. Get into a better relationship. Find your perfect match at Easy Car Sales and drive electric happily ever after.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Thursday, February 6th, 2025. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. It's a special edition of the show today about human rights, and we're very pleased to have a special guest with us, the regional representative of the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. It's a big title. I hope we got it right there. Michelle Brathwaite is with us. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Delighted.
Great to have you with us this morning. All right, so we have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on. Human rights definitely in the news all over the world. But let's talk about it and some definitions. And I don't know if you see this, but especially here in this part of the world recently, it feels like human rights those two are dirty words almost. Part of the agenda of the woke and the liberal. Mm-hmm. That's what we get almost every day on the show. But what's happening really, and as we get into a definition of what we're talking about here.
Okay, well, I mean...
And get a little closer to the mic.
Okay, no problem. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, just turn it a little bit to you, and then there we go.
Human rights should not be a dirty word. Human rights are Caribbean history. Human rights are the inalienable rights that every single human being is born into and has a right to realize throughout the course of their lives. I say it's our history because our ancestors fought for the rights that we all enjoy in the Caribbean now. And when I say our ancestors, I'm not even talking about generations. I'm talking about my grandfather. My grandfather was a trade unionist, and he fought for the rights of workers. Mm-hmm. The nature of the rights that we all enjoy right now, the right to education, the right to vote, all of these things are human rights. And this is what we talk about when we speak about human rights. Yeah. When people think about a woke agenda, they're kind of imputing their own politics onto human rights. Yes, there are certain elements of human rights that are always going to be controversial, and it is healthy to have discussions and debates around how they're realized. But in the end, I think that the average Caribbean person respects the right to life. They respect the right to vote. They respect the right to be left to live a life of liberty. They respect the right to an education, to healthcare. These are what human rights are. So, for a general definition, that's what they are, and they are our rights. They are our culture and our history.
But it seems like there's a movement to have folks who are in minority groups that are tiny parts of the population to box them in or box them out even, so that they're so small that they shouldn't have the same rights as other folks. So that's what it seems like. Are you getting that as well? That there are people who feel that way?
I certainly see that perception, yes, that there's certain groups that are somehow getting special rights or are not necessarily flat out. That is a misconception. Every single human being, every man, woman, and child has human rights. There's no group too small to not enjoy the rights that they are entitled to the day they are born. So whether you're talking about persons with disabilities, whether you're talking about migrants, regardless of the group, regardless of how small they are, everyone has the right to realize their full suite of human rights.
All right, so let's talk about your role before we get into some specific issues.
Sure.
Tell us about what it is that you do and what you're doing here in the Bahamas.
Certainly. So as you said, we are the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. We're a UN entity, United Nations entity. Our office was only established in October of 2024 last year. Wow. Okay. So it's a very new office. There's a lot of UN entities in the Caribbean region. They tend to be in other countries. But the reason we're in Nassau, Bahamas is because the Bahamas championed opening this office, right? Okay. I have worked in the human rights in the Caribbean region since 2012, and for many years, myself as well as many of my colleagues tried to work very hard to get an office opened here in the Caribbean. But it was really the initiative and political will of the Bahamian government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Attorney General's office, and the permanent mission in Geneva that pushed to get an office opened in the Caribbean. So ultimately, the Bahamas permanent mission tabled a resolution in front of the Human Rights Council mandating a Caribbean office. Excellent. And hence, this is why we're here in the Bahamas. Now, we do have a regional mandate, right? So we cover the Caribbean region. We cover 13 countries in total, the English-speaking Caribbean as well as Suriname. I should, hasten to say that we don't cover Haiti. Haiti has its own UN mission, and, my office, other colleagues are a part of that mission. We don't cover Spanish-speaking Caribbean countries, but we cover the English-speaking Caribbean. Yes, and so even though we have had a presence since 2012, with the establishment of this office, there's 6 of us in the office right now, we have more resources and capacity than ever before. So it's a very exciting time for us.
Excellent, excellent. So what would you say are some of the pressing issues for the region and especially the Bahamas?
Absolutely, and I would say that I wouldn't necessarily single out the Bahamas as having any kind of more pressing issues than any other Caribbean country. I think that because we all share a common history, a common culture, we are all facing similar problems. So one of the ones that I would certainly highlight, and it goes back to the question a bit that you asked earlier, is equality and non-discrimination, right? The reality, I think that we are democratic societies that respect democratic values, but the reality is that not all of us experience our rights equally. Yes? So, for example, I mentioned persons with disabilities, that you are born. And mind you, I should hasten to say that, disability is not just about how you are born. Disability is about what your body can do versus what your society can allow for. And that can change throughout the course of your life.
Yeah.
So if you take the example of persons with disabilities, every person born has the right to an education. But we know that there are certain persons with disabilities, certain children with disabilities that don't experience the education system the way some of the rest of us do. Likewise, we have the right to employment. I know that in some Caribbean countries, the unemployment rate for persons with disabilities is 90% and up.
My goodness.
Indeed. So when it comes, when it comes to discrimination, we want to work with Caribbean governments to develop legislation and policy that speaks to the specific situations of groups that we know are not experiencing their rights the same way. Or sometimes rights are going to be realized differently. So for example, children. Of course, a young child does not necessarily have the right to vote. Right? But they do have the right to life. They do have the right to health. They do have the right to an education. And the right to an education is going to look differently for a young child than it will for a teenager. So helping governments kind of discern the different ways in which rights can be properly realized for everyone is part of what we're doing. And usually that's generally through legislation and policy. But the reality is that you can draft legislation, you can put everything down on paper, But from a societal and cultural perspective, there also needs to be acceptance and ownership of these values and these changes. So we also want to work with civil society organizations and human rights activists and people at the community level about having real conversations around some of these human rights issues, especially those ones that can be controversial, to where we can come to a consensus, an actual national consensus. And I hasten to say national consensus because I think you alluded to it before. There's this perception that human rights is this foreign agenda that is being imposed on people. Just to clarify for everyone listening, the United Nations does not have the power or the ability to force any government, Bahamas, Caribbean, or otherwise, to do anything, right? And as I said before, forcing an agenda does not necessarily have any real-world impact. Even if you write something on paper, the daily lives of people are not necessarily impacted. So the idea is to work at the community level as well as at the legislative level to have real change, to have more just and equitable societies. So equality and discrimination is the first one. I'll quickly then go to administration of justice, which is another issue. Prisons, you and I had a conversation earlier. Prisons is a concern, right? The prison conditions are a concern. Not to mention our criminal justice systems overall. Our criminal justice systems tend to be quite frail, and inefficient at best, right? We have cases that pend for years while people sit on remand for years. Victims don't necessarily get redress for years, if at all, yeah? And so working with governments to reform their criminal justice systems is another area in which we want to work. To the extent that you do need legal support, making legal aid more available to the average person is another issue. And of course, we also have to talk about law enforcement and security forces and the issue as it relates to, excessive use of force. All of these issues
this is a lot.
are relevant to the Caribbean region, an area in which we would want to work with attorney general's offices and police forces and correctional facilities. And then finally, and this is really important because I think this is probably the biggest advantage to having an office in this region, climate change and the impact of climate change on human rights.
Oh boy.
Bahamians are very aware of what extreme weather events caused by climate change can do to their societies. And there are multiple human rights impacts on society overall. On your development agenda, when a hurricane comes through and devastates the country and governments have to try to recover from that, they have to redirect resources that they ordinarily would have put into their development agenda, which is a human rights agenda, into recovery. And it impacts their ability to deliver on their human rights obligations. So really examining the impacts of climate change on human rights in the Caribbean region is the third, major topic area in which we want to work.
So you all are very, very busy.
Indeed.
All right. So we have, I'm sure you're aware of this, we're having lots of issues about marital rape here. And the discussions get heated, and some people, when it comes to gender equality, have been saying, why are we having these discussions? We're not having these issues in this country compared to maybe the Middle East or some other parts of the world. What do you say to people who have the perception all is well here and that this doesn't apply to us? Why do we need to have an office here for this or have these discussions at all?
So there is no country that has a perfect human rights record. Absolutely none. There are always going to be discussions around human rights, always a necessity to examine how people enjoy their human rights around the world. And, it is true that the Caribbean region does not have the same kinds of challenges that other regions do. Thank goodness we all are blessed to live in a non-conflict region. We don't have bombs, dropping on our homes. However, it doesn't mean that human rights don't apply to this region. The scope of human rights is broad, first and foremost. I had mentioned, the right to vote, the right to life. These are civil and political rights that I think everybody thinks of when you think of human rights. But human rights, there's also economic, social, and cultural rights that are just as important as civil and political rights. So again, the right to health care, the right to education, the right to employment. These are also human rights. And as I said, not everybody enjoys those rights the same way in this region. So when it comes to, why it is that we need to talk about human rights in this region, from my perspective, one of the biggest issues for us is inequality and the way in which, not all of us experience the rights the way we should. Now, speaking specifically to your question about gender equality, again, right, there's no question that when it comes to the situation of women and girls and boys and men in different parts of the world, it can be different. That does not mean that it's not always a relevant conversation for us. There are many statistics that we can look at that show that there's still inequality between the sexes in this region, right? When it comes to income levels, political participation. When I say political participation, I mean political representation at the highest levels. There are a number of different areas in which you can see that gender equality is still not where it could be, right? And just because it's worse somewhere else in the world does not mean that we as Caribbean people shouldn't be striving to be the best that we should be in that respect. Right. An issue like marital rape is controversial for multiple reasons. And I think that, again, part of our role is to create the space and forum to have true, healthy discussions around these concerns, right? So I don't think that gender equality is inapplicable to the Caribbean. I think that it's, our specific situation around gender equality needs to be discussed as much as possible.
Yeah. Let's talk a little more about the role.
Yes.
How do you facilitate those discussions, and what else can the UN do?
Certainly. So to be sure, every government has obligations around everything that we've talked about. The Bahamian government has ratified multiple human rights treaties. And when these treaties are ratified, it's not just a statement of support for the principles in the treaties. They are legal obligations that come with ratification. The main obligation that comes with ratification of a treaty, when Bahamas ratified the Convention on the Rights of the Child, they are legal obligations to implement the provisions of that particular treaty. Implementation usually comes through legislation and policy, right? So in terms of our role, we talk to governments, try to build their capacity to understand both the nature of the convention, the ways in which other countries in the world have realized it, because it's not all the same. Again, as you said, human rights are different in different parts of the world. Cultures are different in different parts of the world. And so we have to look to what is going to make sense in the Bahamian context, understanding that rights are never to be compromised, but we're going to understand what's going to happen in the Bahamian context. Also, we have open forums in which we invite community members and civil society activists to dialogue with us, to tell us specifically what they think the issues are in the country and how they think it should best be addressed, right? So whether that be community forums, whether that be, individual meetings that we have, there's also an opportunity for civil society and human rights activists in the country to submit written submissions to human rights entities within the United Nations, indicating what their human rights concerns are, such that human rights experts can opine and possibly give recommendations on how to address them. Right. So, our role is to both listen, create space to have these dialogues, and to actually give a voice to persons on the ground who have human rights concerns at the global level.
Right. Are there ramifications for not abiding by the treaties and the things you've signed on to?
Indeed. So as I said before, the United Nations is over any country. Right. So we do not have an enforcement ability. So let's say a country is in violation of a particular human rights treaty. It's not like as if the UN has a big stick that you can, use to bang over the head of that country. Right. The main mechanism we have is accountability. Right? So these treaties that Bahamas is party to, Bahamas needs to report to these treaties on a regular basis, report on what they are doing to implement the treaties. To the extent that gaps are clear and evident, the human rights mechanisms in Geneva, in New York, and these different global forums will point them out. And I can tell you that Caribbean countries don't like that. So they will point them out, and then they'll give them recommendations as to how to address them.
So name and shame.
To some extent, name and shaming. Absolutely. To some extent, naming and shaming. But is then also followed with recommendations as to how to address it. And then, 3, 4, 5 years later, the country is obligated to come back and submit and address those issues. Right. So it's a recurrent accountability mechanism. And Caribbean governments care about their reputation on the global stage, right? So to the extent that some issues are pointed out, governments will make efforts to address them. Yeah. So the accountability mechanism, while not an enforcement one, I think can still be somewhat effective.
But I think you said it. No one is forcing any government to sign on to it.
Can't do it. No, they can't force it. It is absolutely a decision of a government to ratify a particular treaty, and most Caribbean governments haven't ratified all of them yet. So, for example, the Convention on Migrant Workers is not heavily ratified in this region. Right. The Convention Against Torture, believe it or not, is not heavily ratified in this region. So, no.
Hence our prison.
Indeed. Yeah. Indeed. I mean, I think that's a point to be made, is that it is not that I don't believe in the principles, but like I said, there are obligations that come with it, right? And I do think governments take those obligations seriously and they evaluate to what extent they can meet those obligations. That is part of what goes into the decision to ratify a treaty. So, I think that's part of why we don't see all of the treaties ratified yet.
Yeah. Wow. We're talking with Michelle Brathwaite, the regional representative of the UN and the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. We're getting a lot of text messages. We're going to get to those in a bit, and a couple calls, I'm afraid. But maybe you're not worried about it.
I'm a lawyer. I'll do my best.
Okay, so you can handle this. Let's go to this call.
Yeah.
And you can call in as well. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Let's take this call. I have a whole lot more questions to ask.
Sure.
But caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight.
Hi.
And good morning, Ms. Brathwaite.
Good morning.
Wonderful. I am all for human rights, right? But we run into a problem, Ms. Brathwaite, when we have government officials, wherever they go, to look over and sign these treaties with the nationals, it's local nationals, having no idea what we are signing on. And when they get back home, then they run into a problem with the locals or signing on to these treaties that they say, or the UN say, we're mandated to carry this out. And we have no idea. And my other point is finances. See, we don't have a problem doing all the human rights and the human wrongs or whatever we got to do, The problem is this stuff gets expensive, and I have never heard the UN or the human rights people say, well, we can give you $500,000 or $500 million to assist with your concerns. I'll hang up and listen to your response.
Okay. Thank you. So,
interesting question.
Indeed. So when it comes to the process of ratification of a treaty, every government is different. Again, no government is mandated to ratify anything. And to the extent that people at the national level don't feel as though they're aware of what the government does, part of our role is to work in public information so that there is greater capacity to understand what the obligations are that attach to these treaties, both at the national level as well as at the political level. And we also work with governments to disseminate public information and education around these issues. I understand what the caller is saying, that, we find out that we have ratified a treaty and we don't know what the elements of it are and what have you. But I would say that is something that is somewhat curable with increased public education and information. And certainly that our work is to work with the government to do more of that. So having these kinds of interactions on the radio, having more public events that have the opportunity to have public speakers speak to specific issues. Now, as it relates to finances, certainly I know that there's a perception that the UN might have a lot of money and a lot of resources, but the reality is that we have a very specific mandate and we don't necessarily have resources that we can hand out to every country to implement treaties. Yeah. But there are some mechanisms, actually, that are dedicated to countries that do not have a lot of resource purpose. So, for example, and hopefully, this is one of those times that people will learn a little bit more about the human rights system. There is a process called the Universal Periodic Review within the United Nations system. It happens every 4 years for every single UN member state. Every single UN member state goes through a comprehensive human rights review every 4 years. This is not about a treaty now. This is a mandated process for every single UN member state, for the United States, for the Bahamas, for Saudi Arabia, every country. And at the end of that process, there are a number of recommendations to the countries that go through the review as to how you can improve your human rights records. Wow. For small island developing states and other poor countries, there is a fund that countries have access to implement some of those recommendations. Okay. So there are some resources that are available to smaller countries to implement their human rights obligations. But importantly, right, as I'd mentioned about the true sort of organic ownership of these issues. It can't be that people can only realize their rights when some external entity is giving money to the country, right? We have to come up with our own sustainable mechanisms so that everybody can enjoy their rights. Yeah. And I will also say that there's not always a lot of expense involved. Many times it's about shifting a mindset and prioritization more so than it is about pouring money into things. Yeah. So if I give the example of persons with disabilities again, I've done a lot of work in disabilities in this region, and I frequently get pushback that, it's too expensive to do these things. But when you talk to persons with disabilities in these countries, persons with disabilities will tell you the first thing that needs to change are people's mindsets about our abilities. Absolutely. People's mindsets about what we are or are not entitled to. Then we can start talking about, certain different things that might have costs. So I would, just kind of rounding it up, I would say there are some mechanisms. There are some mechanisms that provide for some financial support for small countries to implement their human rights recommendations. Even though the UN might not have all of them, they also have some donor partners, or we used to have some donor partners who would help to contribute to some of this stuff. But I also would say that it's important that we embrace national ownership of seeing these rights realized for ourselves with our own resources.
Okay. When is our next Universal Periodic Review?
When is the next one? I think the Bahamas recently went through theirs. Forgive me. I mean, there's a number of them. 28. So Bahamas just went through their Universal Periodic Review last year. So it's going to be a few more years before it happens again. But part of our role is to make sure that Bahamians know what happened last year, right? What the recommendations were. And Bahamians be able to hold their government accountable for implementing the recommendations that the government said it would do.
Yeah, okay. And I can imagine there are some NGOs that are out there getting information out as well.
Indeed. Indeed. And we work with CSOs in that respect as well, both in terms of getting information out at the national level, but then also sharing information at the international level.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's take this call, and then we've got some other questions to get to. Good morning, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
And welcome to your guest, Ms. Bradley.
Good morning.
I'm calling concerning the rights of workers who haven't been paid their pension and severance money for over 18 years now in this country, the Bahamas. I am one of those who have been working for a company for over 40 years, owed pension and severance money, and haven't been paid now for over 18 years.
Let's be clear. That is a rights violation, right? There's a right to be, there's a right to fair work for every single person. And to the extent that you haven't been paid, there ought to be redress mechanisms at the national level that people can go to and say, I haven't been paid for X amount of time. I would like my case heard, right? A tribunal of some sort.
Have you done that? Have you talked to a lawyer as well?
The courts in
You've been in courts,
for over 12 plus years.
Precisely why we talked about, kind of working to reform both the criminal and civil justice system, right? With, the justice delayed is justice denied. Yeah. And unfortunately, all Caribbean countries have these very inefficient systems. Yeah. But I'd also, beyond our court system, and we are working, or we intend to work with Caribbean governments to improve the court system so that cases like this gentleman's can be heard with efficiency. It is also important that Caribbean governments implement other redress mechanisms at the national level. Yeah. So one of the things that we are working with Caribbean governments, including the Bahamas, national human rights institutions. The Caribbean region actually stands out as one of the regions that does not have any national human rights institution that currently meets the international human rights standards.
Oh, my goodness.
And I say the region stands out because in Latin America, most Latin American countries have these institutions. Most countries in the African continent have these institutions. Most Asian countries do. The Caribbean does not. We have, generally speaking, ombudsman's offices, right? Sometimes they're called the parliamentary commissioner. And so they have a limited mandate to hear complaints similar to this gentleman. If this gentleman was working for the government, then theoretically that would possibly fall under the ombudsman's office. But, it's at the very least, an ombudsman or a national human rights institution should have the power to hear complaints such as these, have the quasi-judicial authority to issue redress, such that, it's not necessary to rely only on the court system. Some Caribbean countries have employment rights tribunals, another sort of mechanism where you can get redress. So we work with national governments to create these mechanisms so that these kinds of complaints and situations can be heard and adjudicated.
Wow. You knew that Donald Trump would come up, and many are watching.
Yeah.
Every day there seems to be a new development,
yeah.
Many. This text was saying it seems like human rights will be coming to an end. I don't know if it'll be that extreme, but many are wondering. We heard about Gaza yesterday.
Yeah.
This declaration is terrifying, and he's signing executive orders and seemingly restricting the rights of some people to do some things. Many agree with some of the things he's doing, others don't. But are you nervous? Are you afraid that this will influence other world leaders to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do this, and I'm going to stop?
I am concerned about what I'm seeing, and to be sure, I'm just speaking on behalf of myself. But as a human rights professional, of course, absolutely, I'm concerned. I would say that the human rights system is fundamentally based on democratic values, right? And I do feel as though what we are seeing from the U.S., especially as one of the largest, wealthiest, most powerful democracies in the world, could portend poorly for smaller, younger democracies in the world. The U.S. is a very controversial country, but the reality is that an organization like USAID, which was their development arm of the U.S., was doing important work in this region, was funding important work in this region, and the U.S. government was funding important work in this region. Foreign aid has been brought to an immediate halt, and that has completely stopped a lot of the important work that was happening, right, as it related to migrants, as it related to refugees, as it related to a number of different areas. I worry, yes, that we are seeing a right-wing tide kind of fall over Western countries where, to be sure, and I think it's on record, that these are the kinds of countries that have supported smaller democratic countries in kind of realizing their human rights agenda. And it's alarming to see be demonized for doing, work that is really fundamentally human rights work. And the Trump administration has threatened to started to deport persons that they deem are undesirable immigrants, because it's not just undocumented immigrants, but it seems as though it's also
an interesting word, undesirable.
Yes, it does seem as though that's more along the lines, because not everyone is undocumented, and the Caribbean region is seeing some people being sent back here as well, and there's some pretty serious implications to that for our countries now, at the national level, in terms of what that might do to crime, what that might do to remittances back to our countries. So the human rights concerns associated with the Trump administration are many.
Yeah. All right. So this text here, oh boy. This person says it looks like the end of human rights funding for the UN because U.S. President Donald Trump has decided not to fund those kinds of organizations like the UN, including not funding NGOs that all promote transgenderism for children and teaching transgenderism in schools for children and teaching and promoting any other leftist Marxist ideologies, leftist and Marxist. Okay. So how does the UN Human Rights Organization how are you able to get funding to promote and encourage your agenda, especially here in the Bahamas? And will Bahamians accept this promotion of alternative lifestyles for children under the guise of human rights?
Okay, so I would take issue with the framing of the question in terms of this Marxist leftist alternative lifestyle that the UN is somehow a part of. I would not say that that's part of the UN's work at all. I mean, just factually, I would take issue with the idea, for example, that they're teaching transgenderism in school, for example, and certainly the UN's work is, and the scope of it is extremely broad. So I would take issue with the framing of the question. But thankfully, the United Nations is an international organization and is not wholly dependent on the support of America. The reality is that the fortunes of the U.S. relative to the UN has always been linked to some extent to their internal politics. When a Republican administration is in office, they tend to be less supportive of the United Nations versus a Democratic one. And that goes along with the funds as well. Donald Trump has been pretty aggressive in his defunding of some of the work related to the UN, but there are many European nations, Asian nations, Latin American nations that still support the work of the UN. Right. So the UN will continue despite some of the shifts in the US politics.
They're coming. They're all coming, these text messages. The UN's agenda under the guise of human rights is insidious because it often tramples the human rights of the majority to establish the so-called human rights of minorities. In all the rights that the UN promotes and advocates, the rights of men seem to never make the list. Perhaps the conclusion is men have no rights, I think they're trying to say.
I would be great. Wow. It would be grateful to kind of get an example as to what rights men are not enjoying. Are men not enjoying the right to employment? Are men not enjoying the right to vote? Are men not enjoying the right to liberty? I would ask listeners to think about what rights they think the majority is somehow losing to the minority, right? We can talk about the perception that the minority might be granted special rights, quote unquote, and I would take issue with that. But I think the first question is identifying the rights that somehow the majority are losing, right? And I would not believe that they are. I think that the majority are still enjoying the same rights that they always have, and that we are looking to see where and when certain minorities that they should also have. So I do not believe that men are somehow losing rights because we are looking at to what extent women are also enjoying their rights, that boys and girls are enjoying their rights.
Someone's asking, I don't know if you're representing the CARICOM regional office.
Yes.
But somebody's asking, why won't the UN take action against world leaders like the leader of Israel for the genocide in Palestine? I'm editing this text, but that's basically what they're asking.
Gotcha. As I said before, the United Nations does not have an enforcement capacity, right? It is not as though the United Nations can take a stick and, beat Israel or any other country over the head as it relates to what they are doing. We have mechanisms in place that create accountability about what they are doing. And if you look at the statements that come from the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, he has been quite vocal in criticizing what Israel has done. But again, that is that's about as much as the United Nations can do. Now, they are individual countries, individual UN member states in their bilateral relationships with countries that have a lot more power to do certain things, right? So we know that the United States has come under criticism for funding, a lot of the military that is associated with Israel. This is where you can talk about what people can do, but the United Nations is not a judicial authority that can forcibly stop certain actions.
Michelle Brathwaite, I need you to say that again. We have a caller who almost every other day is saying, why isn't the UN doing more? Please go a little bit deeper into that. This is not, and especially in the context of Haiti, what can and cannot the UN do with the problems that Haiti is seeing right now?
Okay. So when it comes to Haiti, what the UN can do is that the UN can send peacekeeping associated missions. The UN cannot send a force to fight on behalf of one side or the other, but there might be times when security forces are necessary to keep the peace. So
what can a security force do and not do?
Well, I mean, I can't necessarily get into the detail as to what, there's actually a huge range of regulations and rules and protocols about what they can and can't do, but they can support national forces, right, in their peacekeeping measures. But they are not to engage in conflict, indeed. So again, there are certain restrictions as to what the UN can do. The United Nations is not an international army, so to speak, right? We are supporting countries at the national level with regard to their obligations to their citizens. So when it comes to Haiti, there is currently an international mission that has a number of different representatives from different countries, including Jamaica, and I believe Bahamas has as well, that are supporting this peacekeeping mission or peace-associated mission because they are working with local law enforcement to address gang violence. But to be sure, my office, when we were talking about the role of the office, one of the roles of our office is to do human rights training for some of the Caribbean personnel that is going to be deployed to Haiti. So in the end, those kinds of security forces or that kind of personnel is going to be dictated by at the national level and regulated by international protocols around peacekeeping missions.
Excellent. All right, let's take one more call, and then we'll get to climate change.
Sure.
Talk some more about that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi.
Calling back again because I got cut off on the first time.
All right, so I don't know if we can get too deep into your issue. You're going to have to deal with that, maybe back in the court system or back with your lawyers. But it is unfortunate. We hope you do find some resolution on that. Let's take this other call. Good morning. You are on the air.
Yes, good morning, Mrs. Stewart.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
Yeah, I don't know who the lady is, but I think she was correct in just about everything she's saying, but there are disagreements, and the history of the United Nations, and the fact that originally American people didn't want it, and the Arab League of Nations didn't want it because they knew they would infringe on their sovereignties. So if you go online and you look at what are some of the failures of the United Nations, you will actually see. So the Texas, the guys were really wrong because they are being accused of alleged support for Palestinian militancy and allegations of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. So it's balanced, but for me, I can't remember all the organs of the United Nations, but I know that Russia, China, USA, and the UK and France, they have the most influence over the UN Security Council, and that that simply means that they have the power to raise concerns or impede any veto.
Yes.
Right, and so. If you look at Muammar Gaddafi's statement concerning, I think it was in the UN General Assembly or the UN Security Council, I can't remember which one, but the UN has a lot of failures, but so to the very naive mind, it is people are saying the United Nations is a holy grail, but of world peace. But you know, it's a human organization, and it has its influences. But I really like what you're saying. But I'm concerned as the rights of the individual, as a texter versus the rights of the majority. We saw a breakdown of human rights and complete totalitarianism during the pandemic or the scamdemic. So that frightens me. I wouldn't have mind if you talk about ombudsman. I didn't hear. I just wanted to know what was the UN anti-human rights narrative. I mean, human rights narrative during the pandemic, given the fact that they should have scientific people and they should have voiced concerns over the failures of the WHO and followed the science. And that's what was frightening for me. The fact that they actually went against the scientific method. One is which basically you need objective reviews and you need peer reviews and you need consensus and you don't silence other people. And just so science is being progressing because of pseudoscience and people.
All right, let's see if we can get her to respond. Running out of time there. If you, the time is going. But
if I could, I'm hoping that I understand the gentleman's question because that part, the last element of it, maybe he was speaking to some of the ways in which countries responded to the pandemic and what he perceived to be totalitarian measures associated with the pandemic. So, when it comes to the WHO response, I can only say that the WHO is an organization of I would argue, very well-credentialed, credible medical professionals who pulled together a strategy to address a global pandemic. You mentioned looking at the science. I believe they did. But I am a lawyer. I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. So I'm not going to necessarily speak to the decision-making on the WHO. As it related to the human rights concerns related to the different measures that governments implemented in response to the pandemic, the lockdowns, the vaccines, and what have you. Certainly this is an area that, the integrity of the body is a human right, no question about it. But also to public health is a government obligation, is a government human rights obligation. And governments are empowered. Again, the United Nations and the human rights system does not have the ability to dictate to any government how they carry out their public health system. And governments determined that it was in the public interest, and again, public interest is part of the human rights obligations. It's in the public interest to create lockdowns, to create vaccine mandates. The UN cannot tell governments what or what not to do in that respect.
And that didn't happen. They didn't tell.
No, they did not.
Climate change.
Yes.
What can the UN do in this regard? And especially going back to what we talked about, the U.S. rolling back, getting out of the Paris Accord, and just things looking so shaky at this point after the progress that had been made over the past few years.
Indeed. And this is also a political issue, right? Almost everything is politics, but there are some countries that are more willing to address the climate change issue than others. And so we've had many global conferences around climate change, around the environment, the impact of climate change on the environment, and the impact of climate change on small island developing states particularly. Unfortunately, yes, we are seeing some countries roll back the measures that they're taking to address climate change. I can only say that there is increasing pressure and increasing advocacy, especially from some Caribbean leaders around this issue. And there's some, larger European countries that are very much allies to countries that are trying to make these cases.
But is it all talk? And is it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that it relates back to a fundamental sort of tension between economic growth, capitalism, and the public good. Right? So there is a lot of talk. There has been some progress, and there was some progress being made as it related to meeting the targets associated with the Paris Climate Accord. But in the end, we have to. I think advocacy, human rights advocacy, is going to be what makes a shift. We can't escape the necessity of economic growth and the government's priority on economic growth. That'll never escape. The voices of those affected by this decision-making is what it's going to take to kind of shift policy, global policy in these areas. We don't have an enforcement ability to kind of force countries to meet their climate change targets. We can only just force them to be more accountable to their own people, right, regarding what they're doing to address it. The reality is in the Caribbean region, our region has not contributed to climate change in the way in which the much larger nations have. And yet we are feeling the effects more so than others. So Caribbean countries, leaders, including my Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, has started to make a really, really strong name for herself in making these cases that northern governments, these European and Asian governments have more of an obligation to address climate change. To some extent, the message is getting through. To some extent, it is not. We can only continue to advocate.
So tell us more. We have a minute left about what you're going to be doing this year here in the Bahamas and throughout the region.
Sure. Well, as I'd mentioned, Bahamas recently went through its UPR, and not just the UPR, but there are other processes that Bahamas has gone through. Bahamas ratifies a treaty. Bahamas will almost certainly in the next couple of years make an appearance before some of these treaty committees. It's another kind of accountability process where the government sends representatives to speak to these human rights experts about what it's doing to implement the treaty. We will work with the government to work with them on their priorities, right, over the next few years as it relates to legislation, policy, capacity building, public information, as the other gentleman said earlier, about what they are doing. It's our job to work to see what they are,
not going to tell them what to do, though.
That's not going to, can't tell them what to do.
Right.
Can't tell them what to do. So we approach these conversations with tell us what your priorities are, and then we will work to see how it is you can implement those priorities, right? So that is what, when it comes to the Bahamian government, that is one thing. We have been asked to work with persons with disabilities or on the issue of disabilities, both as it relates to reporting to the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and working on policy as it relates to the situation of persons with disabilities. So I would say those are the two things as it relates to the Bahamas that immediately comes to mind. And we've only been here for a few months, so I'm sure that other things will come up on the agenda. And then, as I said, we also have a regional mandate. So we'll be working on these issues at the regional level as well. Those issues as well as the ones that I'd mentioned earlier. And we're hopeful that we will have national officers. We hope that our office, financial constraints notwithstanding, we hope that we will have national officers on the ground in about 6 different countries in the region, work that I mentioned.
Wow. And if our listeners want more information or want to dialogue with you all, what can they do? What should they do?
Indeed. We have a Facebook page, UN Human Rights Caribbean, that you can go to get more information. Also, too, the OHCHR has a website, and we are increasing our presence on that website as well. And then we'd be happy. We're going to have our own website shortly.
Okay.
That's going to be, it's again, we're still kind of getting all the logistics in place, but you can go online. I think is probably the best way in which you can get information on us or get information to us. And certainly we hope that we'll be back here and you'll have more opportunities to interact.
We are looking forward to it. Michelle Brathwaite, again, regional representative for the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. I think we've just touched the surface here.
Yes, indeed.
And these messages, oh my goodness, so much to talk about. But we have an open door for you to come back and discuss these issues with us. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and hopefully I can come back to convince many of those text messengers that human rights is not the enemy of our people. As I said, all of our ancestors fought for the rights that we're enjoying now.
Excellent. Well said. And folks, that's going to do it for us today. Be sure to pick up today's Nassau Guardian for the latest in business news, brought to you in part by CFAL, Growing Wealth for Future Generations. We're back tomorrow with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business here on Guardian Radio 96.9. In fact, we have our monthly disability awareness segment tomorrow and talking about an exciting program with the SBDC for folks with disabilities. We're looking for entrepreneurial opportunities, and you don't want to miss that in our business hour tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green next.
Attention, valued customers of the Water and Sewage Corporation. We wish to inform you that our office at the Mall of Marathon will be closing on Friday, February 28th, 2025. But don't worry, we are making it easy for you to continue managing your accounts with us from the comfort of your home or on the go. We encourage you to take advantage of our convenient digital payment options. Visit our website at wsc.com.bs to make payments securely. Call us at 302-5630 to pay by phone, or use your preferred financial institution to pay directly. Switching to these online options helps you save time and ensures you never miss a payment. We are here to make your experience as smooth and easy as possible.
Thank you for being a valued customer, and we look forward to serving you in new ways.
At CFAL, we understand that a secure future is the greatest gift you can give your employees. That's why our tailor-made group plan to fit the needs of both large and small companies. With CFAL, you can provide the retirement you and your employees deserve, ensuring peace of mind and financial stability for years to come. Join the many businesses that have already entrusted CFAL to create the right pension plan for their employees, and let us help you build a brighter future for your team. Visit us at cfal.com to get started on building wealth so you can live well. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Bahamas. Join Sherwin Gardner for the Find Me Here album launch on February 28th, 7 p.m. at Bahamas Harvest Church, JFK Plaza. Featuring from the USA, Kalante Gavin and Kateri B, and Positive from TNT. This will be one epic night full of blessings. Get tickets at a live events app or Bahamas Harvest Church and SherwinGardner.com. A blessing's gonna find you here. Powered by Alive.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.